is thinking that there was no news about the North Korean server, and he thought maybe they had things under control somehow. Mr. Lee says that he tried to complete quests with few others who had picked cards, but things started to fall apart once the government got involved. The small-scale organizations that were trying to somehow maintain autonomy were driven out as traitors, so they could not respond as a united group. The raid boss monster that was neglected became a warlord monster, and that's how a monster king was born. King says that now those beings are coming down here leading a swarm of monsters. Mr. Lee says that he is correct, and Sungwoo is thinking that this is the worst outcome. Players in North Korean server didn't have the strength to deal with the monsters, and the Beastmen had no reason to eradicate them, since stopping the monsters is players' only quest. Mr. Lee says that the monsters kept evolving, and in the end the whole server received a bad ending message. The North is a hell ruled by monsters, and one of those rulers is the Lich from Kaesong City. Sungwoo asks if there is only one Lich, and Mr. Lee replies by saying that there is only one Lich, but it controls thousands of undying monsters. Sungwoo is thinking that most of these monsters are going to be low level, but their scale is too large even for him, and the Lich must have received many benefits with the title of King. Mr. Lee further explains by saying that the remaining players started to serve the monsters in order to survive. The Lich in particular accepted mage class players and changed their job class to that of Priest of Death. The prophecy stone he touched before showed him a similar scene where he became a bloodkin of the Lich. Sungwoo asks Mr. Lee about the exact location of the Lich in Kaesong City, and Mr. Lee replies by saying that there is a place called the Temple in Kaesong. It's where the heinous Lich and his priests of death are gathered. It's a really terrible place, so he don't recommend anyone to go there. Sungwoo says that it sounds like a pretty good place for him. After a few days at the temple to the south of Kaesong City, some priests of death are gathered around a coffin. All of a sudden, one of the priests of death becomes shocked. He informs their chief priest that he lost connection with the zombie group in the southeast, and it looks like something attacked them. Chief tells them to send out the crow to find out if they are the same players who are resisting them, but before he can continue, another priest of death informs him that he lost connection with his zombie group as well. Chief asks Crow Priest if he can see anything, and Crow Priest says that he cannot see anything yet, so he will send his crow further in. After some time, they find someone 20 kilometers away, and this person seems to be approaching the temple, and he thinks that this person might be involved with what's going on. Chief Priest orders them to send a zombie unit over and turn him into one of them, since he can't be disturbed because he is creating the undead golem. After some time, the Crow Priest brings the magical globe to the chief to show him something important. The zombies that went to attack the intruder are acting strangely, and they are not following their orders. Chief says that he wants to take a closer look, but Crow Priest informs him that if they send the crow a little bit closer, then the bewitchment might wear off, or the crow will die at the hands of the intruder. Chief tells them to forget about him, as it can be an item ability. If he moves a little bit more closer to them, then they can just use a corpse explosion and blow it away. Chief makes an evil expression, saying that the intruder will experience hell if he fearlessly pokes his head into their land. After some time, the intruder comes into contact with their corpse explosions, which ends up in a huge blast. Chief asks if he is dead, and Crow Priest says that it is not the case. It turns out that the corpses exploded before he could step on them. Chief becomes pissed, as he is thinking that maybe one of his dumb subordinates exploded the corpses at the wrong time. Chief calms down as he remembers that they still have that poison gas, and he orders them to spray it once the intruder enters the temple. As intruder walks further into the temple, few jars are thrown near him. These jars contain breath of the abyss, which was secretly invented by the priests. As the whole room gets filled with breath of the abyss, Chief says that soon his body will wither and twist. But on the contrary, the intruder becomes even stronger than before. Chief says that this is not the type of guy they can handle by themselves, so he orders his men to wake up the one. His underlings are afraid and ask once again if waking up the death is the right choice. If they wake him up from his sleep, death might come upon them as well. Chief orders them to wake him up right now, or a bigger problem might occur if they neglect it. After getting infused with a lot of negative mana, the lid of the coffin blows away. Some black flame along with a black aura appears out of the coffin. Lich says that he is the death incarnate, and how dare they wake him up at this hour. All priests gets down to beg for forgiveness, and Lich says that if it's nothing big, then he will use them all as part of his golem. At the same time, another huge explosion occurs near them, and a buffed up Sungwoo comes out of the explosion unscathed. Chief tells the Lich that it's this intruder they are worried about, and he begs him to bring death to him. But all of a sudden, the Lich makes a terrified expression out of nowhere. At the same time, reporter An is broadcasting live from the North Korean server, and there are about 34,000 viewers watching it. She shows them the current situation of the North Korean server. All they can see far and wide are endless zombies. She asks her viewers if this can be the first disaster that comes over from the North Korean server, and with that being said, she orders her crew to go further in to check more. After a few minutes, they reach another city. There are a ton of goblins and orcs present there. On further inspection, they found another tribe of trolls as well. Reporter An tells her viewers that this is all they can broadcast for now, but she has a terrible feeling that war will soon break out. A player by the name of Iron Shield donates 1,000 gold coins, and reporter An thanks him, further telling him that she will keep reporting even if the South Korean server falls. One of the viewers becomes pissed at reporter An for stopping the mainstream at such a crucial time. It turns out that he is not the only one, and these people think that maybe this is all because of that Necromancer, and they ask to ban the Necromancer from the Korean server. They make a statement on the forum asking the Necromancer to cut down the world tree. No matter how superior the Necromancer is, this is not something he can handle. There is going to be a full-on massacre in the entire Korean server. Can the Necromancer be responsible for it? Necromancer, don't be stubborn and cut down that mere tree following the mainstream quest and end this. He further advised the Necromancer to broadcast cutting down the tree. There are a total of 13 comments on this post. Most of the comments are negative and they agree with the post, but someone by the name of Kim Cheol tells them to shut up as they are all noobs who are feeding off other players, and the Necromancer had nothing to do with this quests, and it was made by the system. This commenter turns out to be Griffin Rider Lee, who further tells them that they are just weak and foolish people. Those who don't do anything and sit in a corner are the ones who always create a ruckus during times like these. She is thinking of finding their location and crushing them personally so that order can be brought into this chaotic world through overwhelming power. But Spearman Kyungsu tells her to not take this serious and just think of them as little kids crying. He further says that such negative opinions cannot become the norm. If they keep going forward on the right path, people are bound to follow them. The leader of the Hunter Company makes a post on the community forum telling others that they support the World Tree faction and they will participate in this war. They will temporarily stop all business and join the war in order to protect the Korean server. For this, they are recruiting field staff, so he hopes that players can show interest in joining them. The loot from the war will be fairly distributed. The Hunter Company leader says that maybe the Necromancer will make his company officially aligned with the World Tree faction after this post. Hwarang Guild posts as well, telling others that they will join the war as well. They cannot lend many troops as they are still recovering from the damage sustained in the Japan-Korea War, but they recognize the seriousness of the current problem and will dispatch 500 troops. The Hwarang Guild will fight with responsibility. New Hwarang Guild leader says that it's time to pay back the Necromancer for his grace. Spearman Kyungsu says it's a given that the Liberation Guild will fight as well, and Hanho says that it's like the entire Korean server is forming an alliance. But on the other side, things seems to have taken a weird turn as the Lich along with Righty and Death Priests are in a begging position in front of Sungwoo. One of the Priests of Death asks the Chief about what's going to happen to them, and Chief says that they might live if they are lucky enough. Sungwoo inquires about the name of the Lich King, and Lich says that he is Victor. Sungwoo asks him about his ability, and Lich Victor says that he can control a maximum of 2,000 low-level zombies. With the Priests of Death, he can add 50 for each of them. Death Knight tells Sungwoo that this is a monster with intelligence. He will cut his neck with the dragon blade in such a way that the dragon egg hatching quest will be immediately completed. Sungwoo tells him to stay off for now as the information comes first. At the same time, Sungwoo is thinking, this is the perfect time to obtain some good information. Sungwoo asks if the Monster King is the highest rank, or if there is someone above the ones with the Monster King title. Victor Lich says that the kings are serving a being who is on a higher level. The strongest being among the ones who acquired the title of king is the Emperor. Sungwoo is thinking that Monster Emperor sounds really intimating. He then asks about more details on this Emperor. Victor says that it's the strongest being among the monsters that acquired the title of the king, and it's safe to say that it's the one with the highest rank within the server. Sungwoo says that you were serving him before, but from now on you will follow me, and Victor replies with a yes. He further says that serving death is his responsibility, which is more important than anything else in this world. A system message pops up stating that Sungwoo can take Lich Victor, who is a similar type of undead, as his bloodkin. As it is a being with independent will, it may present activity even outside your influence. The target Lich will obey his orders. Sungwoo comes down and he is thinking that he got a nice harvest this time. He then takes Victor as his bloodkin, and Victor becomes overjoyed with happiness. Sung-woo tells him that now it is his turn to show his usefulness. After a few days inside Paju City in South Korea, Red Orcs have destroyed the northern fence, and the city guards request for reinforcements. The magicians say that they thought the swarm of zombies would come first, but they are not sure what these orcs are doing here. Their leader tells them to hold on since Liberation Guild and the Hunter Company are on their way. Another sentry informs their captain that a swarm of zombies is approaching from the north, and there are thousands of them. The captain is not sure why the zombies are coming now of all times. The morale of the players hits rock bottom as they think they cannot hold their ground against this tsunami of monsters. As the zombie swarm comes a bit closer, the sentry informs his captain that the zombie swarm is acting a bit strange. Zombies have started to attack the orcs in a frenzy. Two soldiers whisper among themselves that the zombies attacking other monsters can mean only one thing, and their captain gets lightened up as she thinks maybe Necromancer is controlling them. With that being said, Captain orders her subordinates to attack the monsters from their side. As the exit route for the monsters have been blocked by the zombies, they can now easily surround and destroy them. After a few minutes, the zombies manage to slay a huge troll. Now the zombies and the players have came face to face, but the zombies make some strange signs to cheer up the players, and the captain says that they look a little funny, considering they are the Necromancer's summons. At the same time, Sung-woo flies in, and he tells them it's not over yet, and they should repair the fortress. One of the soldiers is crying as he was one of the guys who were previously abusing him online, but now seeing how he helped them, he is feeling ashamed. Captain orders her troops to repair the fortress, and she asks Sung-woo if he will stay at the fortress with them, and Sung-woo replies with a no, since he is going up north. He further says that they cannot win the war through defense only, and he will end this mainstream event. With that being said, Sung-woo flies off with his army of wyverns. Victor Lich informs Sung-woo that the monster emperor is in Pyongyang, and he has never seen that bastard's face. Sung-woo asks about why did he served him, and Victor Lich says that there were a bunch of rumors about him stating that when he was a field boss monster, he raised his level by eating up the raid monsters who were still resisting. Sung-woo is thinking that it must be a being like the Alpha Wyvern. If they let him be, he will only endlessly grow. Victor further informs him that the Emperor used to be an Elder Drake in the past, but now it's a salamander. It spits out fire so hot that it melts rocks. Sung-woo says that a flame attribute type monster sounds like a guy who he can easily have a conversation with. There is a monster crane along with the wyverns. King is the one who sent it, and he says that things are unfolding rather unexpectedly. Sung-woo previously told them that he would hold his ground in Imjin, but he is suddenly going north. King says that it will mean that the key plot of them appearing at the critical moment will be ruined, and his tiger subordinate says that he will rewrite the scenario. Ji-soo-yoon says that it looked urgent, so should not they also get going? King says that it's his first appearance, so it must be perfect, and Han-ho agrees with him, saying that he wants to be a protagonist as well, who appears at the most critical time. Ji-soo-yoon flares up as she tells them to shut up and get going. Both King and Han-ho hesitantly agree with her. Tiger becomes quite excited after seeing Ji-soo-yoon threaten the king, and he says that his passion is surging. Ji-soo-yoon tells them to hurry it up, or they will have to ride all the way there. On the other side, Sung-woo just arrived at the outskirts of Pyongyang, and he is welcomed by some high-level monsters. Death Knight along with a wyvern got rid of these monsters in a hurry. Victor Lich is overjoyed after seeing Sung-woo's minions in action, and he keeps on praising him. He lightens up as he says that his low-level zombies are no match for this, and Sung-woo tells him to shut up. Victor says that if they keep on pushing forward like this, the rear will be unstable, and Sung-woo tells him that there is a plan for everything. Victor jumps up in excitement to see what his master is going to do next, and at the same time Sung-woo gets a notification saying that the ability of Victor Lich have improved slightly. He can now control small skeletons. Sung-woo is thinking that if he grows some more and upgrades to middle-sized skeletons, then he will acquire a powerful army. One of the priests of death has something to report. He informs Sung-woo that there is a large army rushing in about 30 kilometers from outside. There are more than 10,000 troops in that army. Sung-woo is thinking that it must be a unit that moves following the Emperor's command. Sung-woo grabs Victor as he tells him that they will split up for now. Victor Lich is now going to face that 10,000 strong army. To be more specific, he just needs to buy time. Meanwhile, Sung-woo will go to Pyongyang and strike the Emperor. With that being said, Sung-woo throws him down, wishing him best of luck. Meanwhile, the center of Pyongyang is quite hot. There is a huge fire pillar in the middle of the city. There are some human guests staying at a nearby building. One of the envoys says that it's quite hot even when they are this far away from that damned lizard, and the envoy leader tells them to shut their mouth. That lizard is a monster infamous for its disgusting character, and she further tells them to not forget that they are the envoys of the real emperor. Their mission is to use the monsters in the North Korean server and face the Necromancer, who is a potential enemy of the first Chinese server. They become silent as someone by the name of Butler comes in. Butler says that the emperor has not coughed yet, so he thinks they should wait a few more hours. One of the envoys gets up as he says that they have already waited for 2 days, and they are still being insincere since the Necromancer is heading north. Butler kindly requests them to wait for a little longer. The Necromancer of the south won't be able to come up here anyway. Whether he flies or crawls, he will not be able to deal with 20,000 troops. An envoy is amazed to hear that they amassed such a huge number. Butler says that since His Majesty is asleep, we sent the general under command in order to prevent noise. As a result, they got news that the Necromancer is being chased away by our army, and he is retreating south. The envoy leader says that they were worried before because they heard the Necromancer was coming, and Butler tells them to not worry. Although there is one monster king on the South Korean server while they got 8 of them, and the one with the most dominating power is His Majesty the Emperor. The envoy coughs up as he says that they will wait for a little longer. Butler says that he will convey their message to His Majesty, but all of a sudden they get an earthquake. They don't know what is going on, so they look outside the window. They see the Necromancer standing on top of a building. Sung-woo summons his demonic bombardment. He says that he had a hard time getting here, so the Emperor should come out and receive his guests. With that being said, Sung-woo uses demonic bombardment on the fire pillar to remove it from existence. The pillar gets destroyed and the debris falls down to the ground. The butler is in denial even after watching this scene. The female player says that this is definitely the doing of the Necromancer. One of the envoys says, "How can this guy get here so fast?" And the female player says it is not important right now. They were investigating a way to eliminate him, but it looks like the Emperor is going to finish him off anyway, so they will just get out of here first. Sung-woo comes down to the crumbled tower. There are a lot of hot fireballs coming from below. It means that guy is still alive down there. Sung-woo says that no one other than him can withstand this heat, and Dark Knight agreed with him, saying that it feels like his feet are melting. Sung-woo tells Dark Knight that in order to protect the salamander, other monsters will rush in, and Dark Knight needs to stop them together with Righty. Lizard-type monsters start climbing the wreckage, and Dark Knight says that today he may be able to complete the remaining time for the dragon egg to hatch. With that being said, both Righty and Dark Knight rush toward the wave of monsters. The heat wave below Sung-woo seems to be getting chaotic. After a few moments, something blasts out of the wreckage. This entity turns out to be Field Boss Monster Salamander, and he inquires about the bastard who did this to his place. Sung-woo says that it was too hot in the tower, so he tried to ventilate the place, but in the end it turned out like this. In reply, Salamander says that he will not ask who he is. He will just turn the intruder into ashes and sprinkle them on his bedroom floor. In reply, Sung-woo mocks him by saying, "Unlike the king in his neighborhood, it's nice that you don't talk too much." With that being said, both Sung-woo and the Salamander start duking it out. Meanwhile, on the other side at the Taebaek Mountains, Jisoo-yoon and Han-ho got teleported somewhere along with the king. Their destination turns out to be a cave, and Jisoo-yoon says that she thought they were just teleporting to North Korea. King says that he cannot perform such convenient magic. This is a cave inside Taebaek Mountains where the mountain spirit energy gathers. Mountains have something like blood vessels, so through them, they can instantly move anywhere within the range of the mountain. Jisoo-yoon says that it's a little bit too dark for them, so she lit her own fire. The whole place become brighter, and Han-ho says that he is curious to know about this flame. Jisoo-yoon explains by saying that this is the Fen fire. She acquired it through a quest when she was in Taebaek Mountain, plus it's an exclusive item. It greatly strengthens skills that radiate ki, and it can also link to the other skills she has, and Han-ho replies by saying that you just picked a rare item. After going further into the cave, they find a lake. Han-ho is quite amazed by the beauty of this lake. There are a ton of items hidden around the lake. King says that it's his treasure house and they can pick a single item of their choice. Han-ho says that it's good that Sung-woo is not here, or he would have fought against the king to get his hands on all of these items. King finds an axe, which seems to be his precious main weapon. Meanwhile, Han-ho is trying his best to find something flashy. After some time, he finds an interesting looking jar. Younger Lion says that Han-ho cannot take this liquor. Jisoo-yoon asks if this liquor contains the inner core, and Young Tiger confirms her suspicion by saying that it's the inner core that she brought. King says that item is too much for humans. That item is still holding in the mountain energy and getting more and more concentrated. With that being said, King tells Jisoo-yoon to pick anything she wants. Jisoo-yoon picks up a legendary ranked sword. The name of this sword is Ulfbert, and it's a one-handed legendary sword. Every time the player cuts the enemy, his physical strength and energy will increase by 1 point, and it can be stacked up to 10 times. On reaching maximum stack, Song of the Battlefield is applied for 5 minutes. Song of the Battlefield gives immunity against status effects, and the wielder do not feels any pain. At the same time, another notification pops up informing her that certain conditions have been satisfied. The 3 conditions include being a resident of the World Tree, having the legendary Viking sword, and the last requirement is still unknown. Jisoo-yoon got lucky with her recent pick. King knows something about this, but he tells her that she will find more about it in the future. Han-ho picked up a metal sheet helmet to look cool during battles. He says that it will complement his Asura form, and King tells him to do whatever he wants. Now everyone is ready, and King uses Path of the Mountain Range. This is a fast teleportation skill. Only within a few hours they reach the nearest mountain in North Korea. System informs them that they have reached Duryu Mountain. Han-ho says that this spell was super quick, and now they should get going before Sungwoo finishes off all enemies on his own. King tells them that he is sorry that he did not talked about this earlier, but it's not just the monster emperor they need to worry about. There is an entity called the World Eater. Jisoo-yoon inquires about this World Eater, and King says that it's the unidentified transcendental being that they witnessed after defeating Dr. Yu. King believes that if something were to break out this time, that guy would definitely be the one to show up. Meanwhile, on the other side, Salamander threw a curved sword towards Sungwoo. Sungwoo jumped back in time to avoid the sword. Salamander picks up his sword once again. He pumps up while saying that he will tear him to pieces and burn him up bit by bit. Both Sungwoo and Salamander attack each other in unison. Salamander gets pushed back and he uses his Flame Nova skill, but Sungwoo parries it with his Grim Reaper scythe. Sungwoo gets ready to attack this time. On the other hand, Salamander gets ready to block it. Sungwoo uses his special skill Projectile Chains. The skill seals up the weapon of the Salamander. Sungwoo tells him to get ready since it is boxing time. Projectile Chains is a heroic rank item. It activates after clashing with the opponent weapon 5 times. After activated, it seals up the user's weapon and their opponent weapon for 5 minutes. Without wasting any time, Sungwoo kicks the knees of the Salamander. After that, he goes on for a straight punch. The punch lands right on the face of the Salamander. Sungwoo tells the Salamander to get ready since he is going to be his punching bag for some time. After that, Sungwoo uses Twilight Raid to bind the Salamander in mummy bandages. Now that the Salamander cannot move, Sungwoo unleashes a barrage of fists direct to his face. Sungwoo says that the feeling of binding a boss and beating the crap out of him feels amazing. At the same time, Salamander realizes that he is not up against any ordinary foe. Salamander says that you are quite strong, and what do you want from me, my land or treasures? And Sungwoo replies by saying that I want your bones. Sungwoo tells him to die in a better shape so that the bones don't get damaged. The wrapped up Tofu Salamander is shocked to hear that the intruder wants his bones. The Salamander flares up in anger and his high heat wave melts down the bandages that were holding him up. Sungwoo looks up as the Salamander is bulking up in both shape and size. Salamander dares up Sungwoo to try taking him down once again with his fists. Sungwoo says that now it is even better and Salamander is not sure what he is talking about. Sungwoo tells him that he should have done this earlier so now he can get a giant and strong monster's skeleton. Salamander tells Sungwoo to wake up to reality since he is now in his real form. With it, he can use his true power, unlike in his small body. Sungwoo pulls out the mythic rank Bihyung's hand fan from his inventory. It increases the magic immunity of its user by 15%. It allows the wielder to control a total of 10 ghosts. Each ghost's performance changes depending on the user's affinity of the death attribute. Its description says that it contains the one who controls ghosts. Sungwoo waves the Bihyung fan in the air in order to summon the ghosts. A notification informs him that he can control the ghosts, and he has the highest level of affinity to the death attribute. Sungwoo will not get affected by physical attacks. He can control weapons of all ranks. He can inflict Chaos Curse on his target. He can possess targets below a certain level. Sungwoo summons his specters as well. This gives him a synergy effect due to the team play. This is a level 3 synergy called a being with no reality. It's a attribute type synergy. It requires more than 12 spirit type units under the user's control. It increases the movement speed by 30%. Now that Sungwoo is free to control weapons of all ranks at once, he summons his whole arsenal from the inventory. Among them is the legendary great sword called Leviathan, which he could not equip before. It increased his physical strength by 5 points, fire immunity by 10%, fire damage by 10%, and striking the ground will create a flame wave. Plus, this ability has the cooldown of 1 minute. Its description states, it has yet to completely flame up. There are more requirements needed in order to exhibit its real power. Sungwoo requests the salamander to not mind since he will be using a lot of bone weapons along with this legendary sword. Salamander says that he don't know what Sungwoo is planning to do, but it is futile since everything will melt in his fire. Salamander attacks the ghosts, but they had no effect. The ghosts start attacking the salamander. Salamander is quite annoyed by their spiritual attacks, and he tries to burn them to a crisp using his flame breath. But it is of no use as he keeps getting pummeled by Sungwoo's bone weapons and the ghosts' attacks. Salamander is quite pissed, and he is thinking that the ghosts will disappear once he kills the one who made them. Salamander goes directly for Sungwoo as Sungwoo is thinking that the salamander has no info on him. Sungwoo dodges the first attack and the salamander goes for a follow-up attack by throwing rocks toward him. Sungwoo gets hit by a few small pieces and he falls to the ground. Salamander tells Sungwoo to say his prayers. With that being said, he bombards Sungwoo with his flame burst skill. He is thinking that there is no way the intruder will be alive after this, but it turns out Sungwoo is quite fine. As Salamander tried to close his mouth, he finds out that Sungwoo is in his mouth, and Sungwoo tells him that he was never afraid of these intense fire attacks. Sungwoo tells the salamander to be a good boy and keep his mouth open as he prepares to use his demonic bombardment skill. Demonic bombardment melts the inside of the salamander into nothingness. Field boss monster Salamander falls to the ground as a notification pops up telling Sungwoo that he received 28 million gold coins for slaying the boss monster. Another notification pops up telling him that he obtained the title of Spirit Predator. It increased his flame immunity and spirit domination by 20%, while his stamina increased by 2 points. Sungwoo is thinking whether this guy was of a higher level than the king of the Great Mountain Range. Sungwoo received another title by the name of Emperor Slayer. All of his stats increased by 3 points, and his damage to boss monsters increased by 10%. With the death of the salamander, the mainstream Chapter 4, The Fallen World's Overflow, has now ended. A larger notice will be made regarding an update. All of a sudden, Sungwoo notices something. He orders his specters to find the human who was keeping watch on him. He don't know who this person is, but he should confirm his intentions. At the same time, Sungwoo scavenges through his loot. Sungwoo found a advanced fire spirit stone which looks much better than the one he received after slaying the fire giant in Pyeongtaek. This fire spirit stone is a legendary rank crafting material. It's a magic stone in which the powerful energy of fire is concentrated. All of a sudden, all of his surroundings start to vibrate out of nowhere. He soon realizes that he felt the same kind of vibrations recently, as if something is slowly rising from deep underground. His guess was correct as a huge entity bursts out of the ground. This entity is none other than the One-Eyed World Eater. Sungwoo receives a notification that an unknown being is looking at him. He is being overwhelmed by the pressure from this otherworldly being, and all of his states have decreased by 50%. Sungwoo knows well that this is not an enemy he can take on right now since he previously saw his ability to turn Dr. Yu into a mass of blood. A lot of notifications start popping up telling him that a lot of devil's pathways are opened in the area. Sungwoo is quite stunned to see that the World Eater can instantly open these dungeons which can obliterate this whole region. He can't stop it right now, so he starts to retreat. Another notification pops up informing him that this area has been shut down due to an unknown power. Sungwoo is now sure that this World Eater is hell-bent on finishing him right here. At the same time, the hell doors start to open one after another. High-ranked monsters start popping out like a tsunami. Sungwoo is certain that this will be his graveyard, but before they can land an attack, roots start popping out of the ground. The roots catch up the initial wave of the monsters and bind them in place. Someone seems to be controlling these roots from above. The person says, "I was wondering if you were off doing cool stuff all by yourself." But making an appearance at the perfect time is his specialty. King was wishing to be left alone in peace, but if Sungwoo is going up against that thing, then he don't have any other choice but to put in some effort. King rushes toward the World Eater as he warns him to better lower his gaze in another neighborhood. King lands a huge attack, but it gets blocked by a defense barrier. King grins as he powers up his fist. Then he slams the magic barrier and it shatters into pieces. The World Eater seems to be panicking as he got hit by King's fist. Sungwoo is thinking that maybe it is unable to use the same power as it used on Dr. Yu. At the same time, King flares up as he prepares his fist for an all-out attack. This punch seems to be quite effective as it shatters the World Eater. A notification pops up informing Sungwoo that the power of the world pushed out the otherworldly being out of the dimension. Sungwoo is shocked to find out that the king expelled the World Eater. But the devil's pathways are still here, so Sungwoo summons his minions to slay the waves of monsters. They receive 500,000 gold coins for each low-level monster slain. Sung-woo orders his minions to secure the entrance to the pathway before the number of beasts explodes. The waves of the Devil's Pathway have stronger monsters as the level increases. If something like the chief gatekeepers appear in groups, then he won't be able to stop the wave. He has to decide on a sequence and confront them level by level, but there are too many of them, so it is not possible to figure out which monster came out of which door. There is another problem since Sung-woo don't have enough minions to close off all Devil's gateways. At the moment when it felt like his minions were being suppressed, something blasted off the monsters. These helpers turn out to be Asura Hanho and Jisoo-yun. It looks like Sung-woo and his minions will not have to do too much here. King threw some of the branches of his tree into the Devil's pathways, and it closed them right away. A notification popped up informing them that the world's power is forcefully shutting down the Devil's pathways. Hanho was super pumped up for his performance today, but it looks like his moment to shine is going away. Sung-woo gets a grab of one of the branches and he is wondering how he could close the vicious Devil's pathways so easily. King informs him that the tree branches contain the mountain energy. It allows a person to close the opening of the gate if they have the title of a guardian. Sung-woo asks him if he knew the situation would turn out like this. King replies by saying that he knew it to some extent. He discovered something right after he received the title of King of the Great Mountain Range. Through the mountain energy, he found out about a being called the World Eater that eats up the land. Their goal seems to be absorbing living beings on this land. Plus, he already knew that the World Eater didn't like him, so he was keeping an eye out to see if that guy would stick his head out. Sung-woo asks him about the true identity of the World Eater. King says, to put it simply, he is a god. More like a god from another world. Sung-woo is thinking that this god must be the ruler of the Devil's Cave. Plus, this Devil's Cave thing is also related to the #1 ranker Han Kang-seok. Maybe this game is based on battles among more than 3 individuals including Earth. King says that in simple worlds it's like one world trying to eat another, or maybe this is some sort of karmic bond that the system has created. Maybe even the system itself wants a somewhat fair match, since it made rules that would make it fair. Like the world's energy, the thing that's stopping World's Eater direct intervention. Hanho and Jisoo-yun come to the conclusion that they are just like the Evolution Society. Their reason for making this world their subordinate would be the same one. Since they can't exhibit the power on their own, they will have to use multiple puppets. King grabs something from his inner pocket to show it to everyone. King pulls out a prophecy stone from his pocket. Without wasting any time, they quickly activate the prophecy stone. The prophecy stone connects them to the world bad ending #2. Sung-woo appears somewhere in the sky. He is right outside the Earth, watching it from the space. Sung-woo says that it looks like same even after the fall, only the part where light doesn't reach is locked in darkness. After some time he finds out that there is something on the border of that darkness, and it looks like a face looking down on Earth. After a few minutes, some magma-type entity approaches Earth. A notification pops up telling them that the world lost the upper hand, and the World Eater is approaching. The World Eater is shattering the Earth bit by bit. Everything including humans and their souls disappeared, only leaving behind an eternal end. A notification pops up telling them that this is the future that will happen once all of the world's energy scattered around is destroyed. With a bright flash of light, Sung-woo and others come back to the present. Sung-woo is literally shivering in fear of this eternal end. Sung-woo asks King about how they can stop this bad ending. King says that they need to think about it from the perspective of the World Eater, like what would be the best way to destroy the energy and life force dispersed on this land. King points to Righty as he says the undead. Wouldn't they be spreading an infectious disease called death, which opposes that energy? Even the Evolution Society was researching death, but King assures him saying that you stop them by risking death yourself. King further asks him about a powerful being that is against the World Eater that has taken root on this land, and it can influence the land itself. Sung-woo says that it must be the World Tree. King says that you got this right. The last time he checked, Sung-woo was taking good care of it. Death Knight interrupts Sung-woo, saying that he has something important to tell him right now. The remaining number of Dragon Sword days have been filled, and the qualification for hatching the egg are complete. Sung-woo gets a hold of the Dragon Sword as it is radiating with power. A notification pops up informing him that the sword's name changed to Dominator Sword. It's now a 2-handed mythic rank sword. It increases physical strength by 10 points. It ignores some of the target's defense effect by 20%. Its description says that this sword is a key that can wake a dragon up, and it's a symbol of a leash that can control the dragon. Sung-woo is the owner of this sword, and through his deeds a new name will be given to it. Sung-woo asks them about the dragon egg. The dragon egg will hatch within 47 hours and 59 minutes. Sungwoo is not sure what he will feed the dragon once it hatches. He has never raised a pet, and he is not a dragon knight either, so he don't know anything. Since the griffin rider Lee Yan raised a griffin, she could be of help. If things don't work out well, then they can just hand over the childcare to her. Sungwoo says that it's time to get back to Suwon town, and Jisoo Yun asks him about what they should do about this person. There were 3 people watching the fight of Sungwoo with the salamander. She caught one, but the other 2 escaped. Sungwoo tells them to tie him up properly and take him with them. He will interrogate him after dealing with the urgent things first. After a few hours, they arrive back in Suwon. The whole city is going through a construction boom, and Spearman Kyung-soo informs Sungwoo that the job of Mr. Muyeon from Gangwado Island is High Architect. It's a job class that allows for automatic construction, so he don't thinks that they will have any issues even with the wall's development. Sungwoo asks him that the world is getting bigger and bigger and don't they require more personnel. Spearman Kyung-soo says that they don't have problems with that thanks to the small groups of people Sungwoo saved from the North Korean server. Sungwoo is thinking that he is no longer required in running the town and he should just focus on what he can do. The world tree is growing by each hour, and its aura is covering more and more area. Sungwoo placed the dragon end in front of the world tree. He is thinking that if it hatches, then one of the conditions for the mythic quest, Origin of the Race, will be fulfilled. World tree is right now on growth stage 1 and it has grown up to 41%. Sungwoo is thinking that it is a bummer that the world tree is just at growth stage 1. He don't know how many stages it has, but it's going to take a lot of time until the final one. Until then, he will focus on maintaining the dragon. Sungwoo asks Lee Yan about the dragon food, and she is a bit confused after hearing this question. She used to feed some cut-up monster meat to her griffin, and she says that maybe Sungwoo can do the same for the dragon. She further informs him that things like satisfaction and nutrition status will pop as messages to the master of the pet. Plus, the pets are a bit rowdy bunch, as they could destroy the surroundings. Sungwoo comes to the conclusion that he might need some experts. That is why he brought in specialists from each category. Mr. Muyeon, who will build a cradle for the baby dragon. Mr. Muyeon says that he has seen what it was like raising Stormy the griffin, so he will make it spacious and sturdy. Hanho's mother will take care of the dragon baby food. Hanho's mom says that she will make some soft food since the stomach of the newborns is weak. She further mocks Hanho by saying that they must at least raise the baby dragon as a nice and well-behaved child, although she failed to do it for Hanho. Sungwoo looks at the dragon egg with great expectations as he has prepared everything for him, so he tells the dragon egg to hatch quickly. After a few days, the whole Suwon town is gathered around the world tree for an exciting event. The townfolk want to watch the hatching of the egg up close, but Spearman Kyung-soo tells them to move away since it could be dangerous. There is only 1 minute and 48 seconds left till the egg hatching. Hanho says that it's like watching an unexploded bomb disposal work. He says that maybe they are making a mistake, and some ancient devil that resembles him can come out of that thing. Finally, cracks start to appear on the dragon egg as Sungwoo watches it in anticipation. All of a sudden, the egg explodes with a loud boom. A little creature resembling a dragon baby can be seen after the explosion. The dragon baby is cute, and it just opened its eyes for the first time. The townfolk think that the baby is gorgeous as well, but they were expecting something mean-looking. Sungwoo is worried about the dragon kid's temper since it burst out of the egg, unlike normal hatchings. A notification pops up informing everyone that a noble being is born in the Korean server. The black dragon hatchling has learned magic through his owner. Their race has amazing magic intelligence, so there is a chance of acquiring a higher rank. Through instinctive application, the dragon can also learn more powerful magic. Sungwoo is quite amazed to hear that since the dragon can learn the magic of his owner, and now they have 3 liches just in one faction. Hanho's mom prepared a special baby formula for the dragon baby. Sungwoo serves the dragon hatchling his first meal, but he has quite the temper, and he brushes it away using his tail, and the meal lands on Hanho's face. Hanho's mom is worried since the dragon has quite a temper, and Hanho says that the dragon you worried would resemble me is here. Sungwoo then serves the special Korean fried chicken, as he thinks that no one in Korea can dislike this. Dragon hatchling smells it, and he looks a little bit interested in it, and Jisoo Yun says that maybe dragons love meat. But instead of eating it, Dragon hatchling enslaves the poor fried chicken as his minion. Everyone in Suwon town is now sure that the dragon hatchling resembles Sungwoo more than anything. A few hours pass by as the townsfolk try to feed the dragon, but most of the food served to him ends up as his minions. Jisoo Yun says that the dragon hatchling turned all the food that had bones into skeletons, while Hanho is wondering why the dragon is dancing, or maybe he is performing an incantation chant. Jisoo Yun says that it is a relief that the hatchling eats the baby food when he gets tired of playing. Hatchling comes to Sungwoo, and he thinks that maybe the hatchling wants him to carry him. Sungwoo picks up the dragon baby and it looks super cute like a pet cat. He is not named yet. He is a stage 1 black dragon hatchling. His owner is Sungwoo, and his status shows that he is very healthy. After a few minutes, Sungwoo gets tired of this caretaking thing. He don't know what the dragon hatchling exactly wants, but he needs to handle him as if he is raising a little human baby. He would be an incredibly strong ally, but all he does for now is turn chicken and fish into bloodkin. Dragon baby throws a tantrum as he kicks Sungwoo in the face, and Hanho asks Sungwoo if he has thought of a name for it. Sungwoo has not given a thought to it, and Hanho says that this super cute baby deserves a name. Sungwoo asks Hanho if he wants to name him, and Hanho says that he will think of something cool. All of a sudden, Dragon Baby starts looking up as something gets his attention. It turns out that he got attracted to the voice of some random birds flying near them. Dragon Hatchling activates a skill called Dragon Fear. It stiffens living beings that have low level and intelligence. At the same time, all birds start coughing up blood and falling down. Sungwoo is thinking that maybe the Dragon Hatchling used that ability subconsciously. Now Sungwoo is sure that this dragon baby is definitely going to be useful, and it's worth the effort to raise it. During nighttime, Spearman Kyung-soo comes to Sungwoo to inform him that the captive from Pyongyang has died. He ingested some poison he hid behind his teeth. It seems like he wanted to avoid giving away useful information. Sungwoo asks Spearman Kyung-soo if the captive was a spy, and Kyung-soo informs him that Hanho went through his belongings and said that the captive seemed to be Chinese. Sungwoo says that it can't be helped now. He raises the dead captive as his minion to get the information from his corpse. After reviving him, Sungwoo checks his memory fragment. Sungwoo opens his eyes in a snowfield, and it does not look like it's in Korea. One of the Chinese players says that he never thought he would be in the middle of Siberia, while the other one says that what are those guys doing in a place like this? The female player says that they are hunters, and they are on a hunt. Player asks about what they are hunting, and the female player says anything. A player asks if the emperor wants to go beyond the continent and embrace even the tribes of remote areas like this. The female player replies by saying no, the emperor does not have the time to care about these things, since he will soon conquer Chinese server number 2 and fulfill the world's unification. Sungwoo now knows well that these guys are the subordinates of the self-proclaimed emperor who conquered Chinese number 1 server. The female player says that this is not the emperor's plan, but it's an order from General Xing. The general had mobilized barbaric outlanders and ordered them to put the Korean server to sleep. The male player says so the general wants to put them against one another, while the female player says that it's not just the Russian server, and he is also trying to cooperate with the Monster King in the North Korean server. The Korean server is strangely trending too much, so they need to move the barbaric outlanders and smash the Korean server. Sungwoo is thinking that he already expected threats from mainland China, but he did not think they would start a diplomatic warfare like this. All of a sudden, the Chinese players get engulfed in a snowstorm. The female player orders her comrades to stay still, or they will get wiped away. After a few minutes, they spot some figures in the distance. These figures turned out to be huge bears. The Chinese players become stunned with fear. They are not sure if they are beastmen or the brave tigers that evolved from monsters. A human player seems to be with them, and he comes forward. It turns out that this old man is the number 1 ranker of the Russian server. He is Druid, the devil of Siberia. Druid says that you guys stink, and the Chinese players warn him to not be so much arrogant to them. Female player says that they came to make a request. Druid flares up as he says that he knows those humans who smell like this have obvious purposes. He tells them to just say the amount and the target that needs to be taken care of, and then get lost. The flashback ends with this last scene. Hanho asks Sungwoo if it is over, and if there are other people planning to invade them. Sungwoo says he is correct, and this time he is happy because they are people he knows about as well. Meanwhile, at the headquarters of the Liberation Guild, Prosecutor is quite pissed at the system for something. It turns out that he got a special exclusive quest. It's an assassination type quest, and its title says do not repeat the same mistake. Its goal is to eliminate Sungwoo. As a reward, rank points will be given to him. The fallen world will pour out into the Korean server, and the arrogant evil being Sungwoo will appear in the midst of the chaos. When the time is right and have him killed by the monster army, this is a command. On disobeying this command, your rank points will be deducted. If accumulated, you may be removed from various faction benefits. In addition, an all-stat decrease penalty will be given to all members. This penalty will rank up as more time passes. It turns out that it was an old quest, and the prosecutor failed it. A penalty is given to all of his faction members, and their stats have decreased by 1 point, and it will keep stacking. Prosecutor is regretting his choice of joining the Angel faction, and he should not have believed that the Angel faction means good, just like because they are good in fairy tales. A disheartened and broken prosecutor moves in the room where Angle statue is right now. He shouts out loud saying that he can't do it anymore. If this is what it's going to be, then end the contract and leave us alone. At the same time, another notification pops up informing Prosecutor that an upper rank player is being dispatched from the Angel faction. Prosecutor needs to follow his orders and eliminate Sungwoo. This is his final warning. If he refuses to follow this order, then he will face judgment. Prosecutor becomes angrier after hearing this new order. At the same time, Manhwa Seong barges into the room stating that she has something to report. Some people approached their northern border. They are from a foreign server, and they most probably look like Slavic people. They are saying that they are from Angel faction and the owners of Six-Winged Statue, plus they asked the border patrol to bring the commander. Prosecutor is thinking that maybe these Slavic people are from the Russian server. Judging by their timing, they must have been preparing for it for some time. Manhwa Seong further informs him that when the border patrol tried to check them, one of them created a snowstorm and blew them away. With just one blow, 50 troops and the entire guard post got blown away. Prosecutor is stunned to hear that there is someone who can blow away 50 elite troops in a single blow, and Manhwa Seong suggests that the prosecutor should talk to them as a diplomat. First China, then Japan, and now Russia is trying to mess with their server. Prosecutor says that if our land does not unite, then it's destined to get swallowed up by foreign forces. Manhwa Seong inquires about the orders of the prosecutor. Prosecutor orders her to go and find Sungwoo, as this is an affair between people who swing their knives first. Deep down, he is thinking that these Russians need to taste the famous Grim Reaper scythe of the Korean server. The next day at Suwon town, it turns out some foreigners came to visit them as well. There is a black man and 2 white women. They are saying that they are from the American server. The American player says that they are from the American server number 1, which is located at the east coast of America. The players from the Suwon town are a bit amazed as these American players came here after crossing the Pacific Ocean, which is not an easy feast to pull off. Spearman Kyung-soo is thinking that these Americans should be busy establishing power bases and building facilities. Why did they came all the way here while taking such a huge risk? The male player says that they landed on a nearby coast 3 days ago. He further says that the amazing role played by the World Tree faction has left a deep impression on them. They are here because they wanted to meet them and talk about some things. He presents a card stating that he is Jonathan Cage, Foreign Affairs Team 1 leader. He is from WPU, which is the first force of the American server. Spearman Kyung-soo introduces himself as the General Affairs Team leader of the World Tree faction. Jonathan kindly requests if he can meet the Necromancer. Spearman Kyung-soo says that it is not possible right now, and Jonathan asks if he is not here right now. Spearman Kyung-soo informs him that the Necromancer is working on something important inside, and it will take some time until he is free. But in reality, Sungwoo is not in town right now, and if these guys have approached them in order to invade, then they won't miss this chance. Jonathan says that he will be waiting nearby and he will contact them after every 12 hours. Spearman Kyung-soo asks about their purpose of visit so he can inform the Necromancer in advance. Jonathan says that they want the world's reunion and an international unifying organization. In order to make peace, they need to discuss these topics with the renowned Korean server hero. While they leave, Spearman Kyung-soo is thinking that these guys are acting like Americans from the world before the fall. But it's too soon to call for peace. Meanwhile, Sungwoo is moving in a helicopter belonging to the Liberation Guild. Manhwa Seong informs him that there was a one-sided massacre from the group that's supposedly from Russia against the guards posted at the border. After that, the attacker got the nerve to ask for a negotiation with the Liberation Guild, but the prosecutor did not agree to it. Manhwa Seong further informs him that the Russians called it a negotiation, but what they really wanted was complete surrender. The prosecutor and their guild members got frozen by frost magic, and that's the last message she received before getting here. Sungwoo asks that if there is a chance of them being alive after getting frozen. Manhwa Seong says that they have no idea, and she is hoping that it's a magic that only gives a status abnormality without dealing actual damage. After freezing the prosecutor, they seem to have planted something in the Namsan mountain, and following that, the temperature in Seoul has dropped significantly. Reports say that the Namsan mountain has become like Mount Everest, and it cannot be approached. Sungwoo has an idea about the identity of this person since he saw him in the memory fragment of the Chinese diplomat. All of a sudden, Han-ho starts feeling cold, and he asks the pilot if he turned the heater off. Manhwa Recap informs them that the temperature of the area around Namsan has gone down to minus 25 degrees, and it seems to be constantly lowering. Han-ho asks Sungwoo if their dark fire will be able to withstand this with just the fire spirit stone, and Sungwoo has no idea what Han-ho is mumbling about. It turns out that Han-ho just named the dragon Hatchling, Dark Fire and Black Flame Dragon. Sungwoo is regretting his decision of letting Han-ho name the dragon, and Ji-soo-yoon says that maybe they should just name it Mireo. After some time they arrive at their destination. Everything around them is frozen, and Manhwa Recap says that even getting away from this situation is hard, since they won't just sit around and watch. Han-ho says that Ice Age might come back at this point, and Sungwoo agrees to him saying that might actually be their goal. Manhwa Recap informs Sungwoo that the Russians know that we are here, and they are asking for negotiations. Manhwa Recap further says that these Russians are definitely plotting something, as their goal can't be simple negotiation, and Sungwoo replies by saying that they should still go. Sungwoo orders Manhwa Recap to go and check up on the prosecutor if he is still alive once she is out of their sight, and dispatch as many surveillance teams as they can. With that being said, Sungwoo moves toward the negotiation area. Han-ho asks him if they are making the right choice by going themselves, and maybe they should call Ji-soo-yoon as well. It turns out that Mireo didn't want it to be separated from him, and Ji-soo-yoon can keep him tied down. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Liberation Guild members tell Ji-soo-yoon to stop hugging the baby like that, or she will become a dragon slayer. Sungwoo arrives at the meeting point while thinking that if the Russians found out about the baby dragon, then they will definitely go for him. A female Russian player welcomes them. There are some hunters from Siberia behind her, and Sungwoo is wondering where that boss he saw in the memory fragment can be. There is one red bear here that he used to have by his side. The frame of this red bear is really good, and he desperately wants to make him into his minion. He snaps back to the present when the Russian chick screams at him saying, "What are you looking at?" when a beautiful Russian lady is standing before him. Sungwoo asks her if she is the one in charge, and she replies by saying that she is not. She introduces herself as Titania. She is the Eastern Union leader of the Siberian hunters, and their Tsar passed out after drinking. Sungwoo is thinking that first the Emperor of China, then the Sword Saint of Japan, and now a Tsar. It's as if these guys are role-playing in a medieval fantasy movie. Sungwoo inquires about the elements of the negotiation. Titania teases him by saying you want to get down to business right away, and if he is not curious about why they are doing this, but she expected this much from an impatient Korean. Titania informs him that the client has offered 200 million gold coins in order to cut off Sungwoo's neck and destroy the entire Korean server. Titania asks Sungwoo about how much he can offer to stop a fight that's worth 200 million gold coins. Sungwoo is shocked after hearing this amount, and he is wondering about how much are they getting as a down payment. Manhwa Recap asks them about how much they want. Titania says that they need 300 million gold coins if they want them to leave quietly, and 300 million more if they want them to execute the client who targeted them. By looking at the expression of Manhwa Recap, Titania realizes that they don't have that much money, and she warns her to run away before the Tsar wakes up. All of a sudden, Titania flares up. Titania releases a snowstorm and warns them that if they don't leave right now, then there will be more stone statues. Sungwoo now knows that she is the one who froze the prosecutor and his guild members. Sungwoo tells her that he will make a more affordable offer. He gives off an evil smile and tells her to hand over 200 million gold coins if they want to go back alive. After hearing it, Titania becomes angrier as she thinks that this bastard is out of his mind. Sungwoo warns her saying that if they don't want to run away, then instead of an ice statue, he will pull out their skeletons from their bodies. The snowstorm keeps on intensifying, but a heat source radiating from Sungwoo keeps the area around him warm. It turns out that Sungwoo has transformed into his Anubis form. Titania is confused as a necromancer could not release heat from his body. Even Sungwoo did not know before that his hellfire armor have an effect like this, as well as flame immunity. It turns out that the advanced fire spirit stone is reacting to Sungwoo's power and releasing a special effect. It temporarily increased his flame immunity by 10% and flame damage by 10%. With this, Sungwoo don't have to worry about the snowstorm, and he orders his minions to attack. Titania informs her teammates that this necromancer turned out to be a trickier guy than she thought, and they can't go easy on him. Her fellow hunters are full of confidence, and they say that they will take care of him before the Tsar wakes up. Hanho tells Sungwoo that these foes look strong, and Sungwoo asks him about when did they ever faced weak foes. Titania attacks the orc minions with ice sphere bullets. The minions who got affected by it freeze in place. Another heavy attack crumbles the immobilized minions into pieces. An old hunter turns out to be the one who did it. Sungwoo is thinking that this time his enemies are using a combination of extremely cold magic and long-range attacks. This is on a different level from the wide area magic. The skeletons are not resurrecting because their bones are frozen, and the hunters are not trying to directly assassinate him. It's a battle of strength, and they are planning on pinning him down before his full power is restored. But bones are not the only things he can control. With that being said, Sungwoo uses the Bihyung's hand fan to summon ghosts. Sungwoo can now control ghosts. His affinity to the death attribute is max right now. He will not be affected by physical attacks. He can now control weapons of all ranks. His target will receive the Chaos Curse. He can now perform spirit possession to targets that fall below a certain rank. Sungwoo starts creating bone spears, and hunters with shields get ahead to block them. But these bone spears are not so simple, and they keep changing their trajectory. One of the hunters is yelling at his own fellow hunter for being and slow poke, and he gets pierced through the neck by a flying spear. It turns out that the ghosts were wielding these spears and changing their trajectory. They look above to find out that the wyverns are dropping something on them. Titania uses her skill ice umbrella to block the incoming sky objects. Some of the flying things slipped through the cracks and they turn out to be zombies. Victor and his priests of death are the ones who are conducting this sky raid. It turns out that Sungwoo previously commanded him to turn all the neglected monster corpses in the Korean server into zombies, and he just returned after completing his task. The hunters had posted some scouts on the outskirts to scan the area for any incoming reinforcements, but the scouts are not responding at all. On the other side, someone just slayed a human player. It turns out that Jisoo Yun just finished off the last remaining scout with the help of Liberation Guild. Titania motivates her fellow hunters by telling them that these mere zombies are not much of a threat and they can easily wipe them out. Sungwoo is thinking that the fact that they still believe they can win is annoying, so he summons his recently added king monster, the Bone Salamander. Bone Salamander goes directly for Titania in full force. Titania is still confident that she can freeze this monster while he is still burning like a lava. Sungwoo is thinking that the flames of Fire Salamander have become weaker ever since it became a minion, but this should still be enough to stop a mage. Now the only thing left is the huge red bear, but it turns out that Death Knight along with other boss minions of Sungwoo have already taken care of it. Sungwoo earned 4,500,000 gold coins for hunting the ancient druid bloodkin. This beast was a level 11 ancient giant bear. Sungwoo is quite happy since he got his hands on a new perfect minion. The hunters desperately try to catch the Liberation Guild members who came with Sungwoo as hostages in a last-ditch effort, but they get done in by Hanho's throwing knives. With each kill, Hanho can maintain his Asura form, and he keeps on annihilating the hunters one by one. Titania seems to be exhausted and she yells at the Tsar for his rash decision, as she told the Tsar before that they should investigate first before striking, since their target is a famous guy. Sungwoo strikes the ice shield of Titania with his scythe. Her shield could not take any more damage and it shatters. She can see a punch coming toward her face through the broken shield. Sungwoo punches her face with all of his force. Sungwoo was planning to kill her in one blow, but she is tougher than a rock. Titania tells her fellow hunter that this is not going to work, and he should wake up the Tsar. The hunter knows that the Tsar will lose his mind if they wake him up now, but they don't have any other option left. But before the hunter can move, the Tsar makes his entrance along with his ancient bears. Titania orders the other hunters to move back since the Tsar has entered the battlefield. Tsar asks Titania why there is so much noise, and he previously told her to not wake him up before the sunset. Titania says that they are close to dying, and her face has been restructured by this bastard. Tsar looks at her face and comments that it does look more crumpled than before. Tsar comes face to face with Sungwoo, and he asks if this is the dog of death that the Chinese were talking about. This dog is cool looking, so he will stuff him up and hang him in front of his room. Sungwoo says that he wants to do something similar to him, but the Tsar is still lacking, so he asks the Tsar if he can get bigger or transform into a beast. But before he can continue, Jisoo Yun makes her way to Sungwoo in a hurry. Jisoo Yun informs Sungwoo that Miro disappeared, but before she can continue, Miro appears out of the shadow of Sungwoo. He is using the shadow movement skill of Sungwoo. Tsar asks about what is up with Sungwoo's pet, and its size is perfect to trample and kill. Miro becomes angry after hearing the yapping of an elderly citizen whose time on this green earth is about to run out. Miro uses Dragon Fear skill on the ancient bears, which stiffens living beings that have low level and intelligence. A notification pops up informing them that the target's level and strength stats are substantial, so Dragon Fear will only be partially applied. All of their bodily functions have fallen into a stiffened state by 60%. Ancient bears are acting weaker, so Tsar asks them if they secretly drank his vodka or something. Hanho says that these teddy bears are only big in size, but they are no match for Miro. Even the Tsar is confused at the current state of his bears. All of a sudden, Tsar lights up as he orders the ancient bears to go and trample that little thing right now. At the same time, Miro starts activating another skill. A warning notification pops up informing them that giant spirit regeneration begins in the area. Sungwoo is amazed as Miru already learned the giant spirit regeneration, but Miru does not have anything to summon. In a few seconds, some chicken minions pop out of the abyss. Tsar is confused as to what this little bastard is up to, and Sungwoo says that he is not sure either. A notification pops up informing Sungwoo that the Black Dragon hatchling applies the skill inherited from him and created a new skill. All chicken minions turn into fire type. This is an expert rank skill and its name is Flame Death. It consumes 5 mana for 1 flame. The user can grant Death Flame to the undead under their command. This flame cannot get easily put out, and it deals flame damage to targets that make contact with it. Victor Lich asks Sungwoo about this skill, and Sungwoo says that even he is not sure what is going on. Mireu starts biting the head of Victor Lich, and they get a hidden synergy effect. This is a hidden type class synergy called Death's Harmony. It requires 3 or more users of Lich level death magic. It upgrades a random ultimate skill to its ultimate level. Sungwoo's bone weapon production skill, which was on the expert level, has been increased to ultimate rank due to this synergy. Tsar is becoming anxious as he is thinking that these guys are playing him for a fool. Tsar activates a skill which summons a giant ancestral spectral fire bear behind him. The bear smashes his claws with his full might. This in turn creates a huge firebomb called Tsar Bomba. Tsar Bomba was a thermonuclear aerial bomb, as well as the most powerful nuclear weapon ever created and tested on the 30th of October, 1961. Tsar Bomba left a huge impact on the battlefield, but Sungwoo managed to stay safe as his boss minions took most of the impact from the bomb. Sungwoo is thinking that Tsar must be out of his mind since he even blew up his own summons. Tsar says that you must be a little mistaken, these beasts and the players that stuck with him because they wanted to live. He solely relies on himself, plus he is different from Sungwoo who relies on skeletons and such undeads, while he achieves things by fighting on his own. Sungwoo hints Jisoo-yun to take Mireu and go back, and at the same time he asks Tsar if he wants to fight. Sungwoo further mocks Tsar by saying, unlike your outward appearance, you are a cunning one. Even now, Tsar made him let his guard down using his summons, and he tried to clean this place up with a single blow. Tsar dashes towards Sungwoo, while saying that Sungwoo is too self-conscious, and he is not an opponent worthy of his attention. The minions try to confront him head-on, but he jumps up into the air. He yells at Sungwoo while saying you are just a slightly difficult prey, and he activates another ability. Tsar sends 2 huge piercing winds in the shape of bear paws. The air waves easily shred the lower rank minions into pieces. Sungwoo gets blown back a bit since the intensity of these waves was quite high. Taking advantage of this moment, Tsar gets inside the minion encirclement of Sungwoo, and Sungwoo orders his minions to take him down. Tsar easily shreds the first wave of minions using his bear wave formation. This minion wave turned out to be a distraction as Sungwoo prepared his demonic bombardment skill. The demonic bombardment was successful as it managed to hit Tsar. The impact left a huge smoke screen contributing to the intensity of the situation, but Tsar came out unscathed as he wrapped himself in a turtle formation in time. Sungwoo is amazed after watching it, and he now knows well that the defensive power of Tsar is on another level, and he can't get rid of him using ordinary methods. Tsar tries to belittle Sungwoo by asking him, when are you going to stop taking small bites? Aren't you supposed to be a great player who made enemies of both angel and devil factions? He says that Sungwoo got stronger by eating up his prey, so why don't he go ahead and plunge his teeth right through his neck? Sungwoo ends his cockiness by shooting a bolt toward him, but Tsar manages to dodge it in time. It turns out that Sungwoo pulled out his dwarven crossbow. This pisses off Tsar to the limit and he gets fired up saying that you are an annoying prey and I should have wiped you out in the first blow. A caution notification pops up informing everyone that demonic beasts are being summoned in the area. Titania orders everyone to get back and find somewhere safe to hide since Tsar is using the power of the Pilgrim of Hell to summon the demon beast. Huge demonic beasts pop out of a newly formed hell warp behind him. These demonic beasts are no joke and they seem to have high aggressive stats. Sungwoo now knows well why Tsar is called Druid the Devil. All human players in the area get hit by a debuff. Their body is intimidated by an unknown energy. Two energies are clashing and they are influenced by more powerful waves. All of their stats have decreased by 5. Tsar asks Sungwoo if he is going to stay still and watch as he orders his hellhounds to attack. The hellhounds easily manage to overwhelm the boss minions. One hellhound tries to take a bite out of Sungwoo as Tsar tells him that he is the one being surrounded now. Sungwoo quickly jumps up into the air. He gets a hold off the wyvern as he tries to put up some distance between him and the Tsar, but Tsar is not letting him go scot-free. The hellhounds quick smash the wyvern before he can take off far away. Sungwoo summons a flying bird monster as he is thinking that he found the weakness of Tsar, but he needs a strong attack that will work on him. Sungwoo has his recently added ultimate bone weapon skill, which he can utilize to its maximum potential. Bone weapon production consumes 5 to 100 mana, and it produces weapons by using the bones of corpses. The weapons that can be produced as of now are as follow. First, ordinary weapons, second, advanced skill equipment, third, siege weapon, and fourth, and the newly added weapon modeling. Tsar asks Sungwoo about how much longer is he going to keep running away, and if this is all he got. Sungwoo quickly lets go off the bird as he uses his bone weapon production skill. Sungwoo now knows well that Tsar can only pull out one kind of a formation at a time, so Sungwoo shoots a huge bone fist toward Tsar. The fist lands on Tsar with a huge impact. Sungwoo has an idea that Tsar is not going to drop dead just from this, so he keeps on shooting more bone fists. Tsar is using his high defensive stance to stop the fists, and he seems to be stirred up with these attacks. After some time, Sungwoo stops the production of fists as he focuses on making bone ballistas. The ballistas put a lot of pressure on the Tsar, but he is not changing his stance or getting pushed back. Sungwoo orders Victor to send out the zombies, since Tsar is not opening up his formation. The zombies make their way to Tsar. He is annoyed by their rotten smell, but he is confident that they cannot break through his defense. Sungwoo orders Victor to release the summoning. The undead stop moving and the whole area starts brimming with the sounds of corpse explosions. Victor, along with his priests of death, exploded all of the zombies they previously collected. Sungwoo made these huge amount of explosions in order to deplete the oxygen in the space around Tsar, and now he needs to wait and find out if Tsar can survive without breathing. Victor is curious to know if it is over, while Han-ho is hoping that this Tsar bastard must not have a resurrection item. Ji-Soo-yoon informs everyone that Tsar is still alive despite those huge explosions. Once the smoke subsides, 3 hellhounds can be seen, and Tsar says that if the hunter fails the hunt, they become the hunted instead. He never expected himself to fall into such a situation. He tells Sungwoo that now it has gotten a little bit interesting. Sungwoo is thinking that this 3-headed Cerberus must be his real divine power. At the same time, Cerberus prepares a lethal fireball. Sungwoo can feel it in his bones that this is going to be dangerous, so he resummons the flying monster bird to get away. The 3 fireballs of Cerberus were so huge and intense that they easily melted away all skyscrapers in their way. Sungwoo made it quite far above, so he avoided this attack. He has no idea what those attacks are, but if he allows even one hit, then it will be an instant death. Sungwoo lands on the ground as he is thinking of finding another opening again and landing a huge blow. But before the fight can continue, a huge pillar of lightning appears near them. Sungwoo has an idea about the identity of its user. The lightning pillar blasts off the surface on impact. Someone comes out of the pillar. This person turns out to be Han Kang-seok, and he says that he came here sensing the energy of hell, but it was just a pilgrim. He knows that Tsar picked a 4-star card called Pilgrim of Hell. He further says that you were the disgusting smell from the north that he would get from time to time. Tsar asks him about what kind of bastard is he, and Han Kang-seok asks him that you got support from the Angel faction, and you are using the power of Hell Dimension, and if this information is correct. Tsar says that he has no idea about what Han Kang-seok is talking about, but Han Kang-seok refutes his claim by telling him not to try playing dumb. Cerberus is proof of this claim since it is not even a regular divine awakening power. Tsar asks him about how he knew about it, and Han Kang-seok puts his hand on his shoulder. He then says, "How would I not know about this, since I am the one who will become the owner of Hell, the Demon King." Even Sungwoo is wondering if Han Kang-seok is really the Demon King. Before this, he was getting hung up on quests related to the Hell Dimension, and maybe all of that was for this reason. He might even acquire authority that allows him to control monsters from the Hell Dimension. Tsar recognizes Han Kang-seok as the #1 ranker of Korean server who ruined a Japanese island. He already knew that Han Kang-seok was a great person the moment he saw him through the broadcast, but seeing him in person, it exceeds his imagination. Zeon mocks Tsar by saying that instead of trying to keep your reputation, why don't you just run away? This pisses off Tsar and he gets ready to attack Kang-seok as he thinks that he is great, but he should not have approached him unguarded like this. But before he can completely conjure his skill, he gets interrupted, as he gets struck by a huge bolt of lightning which sends him flying away. Han Kang-seok warns him to not even try these puny tricks on him since he is faster than the speed at which he breathes. But this warning was not enough for Tsar as he rushes toward Kang-seok, once again telling Kang-seok not to look down upon him since he is the best player in Siberia. In his mind, Tsar is thinking that he just needs to land a single powerful blow on this mage, but first he will block his magic using his turtle formation. Han Kang-seok uses his lightning rod to strike a huge wave of paralyzing lightning upon Tsar. The lightning pierced through the turtle formation of Tsar, making him paralyzed, and Han Kang-seok goes up to him saying that you are just an idiot, and it's just your luck that you made it this far. Kang-seok starts roasting the Tsar to the crisp as he tells him that today, his luck will end. This is finally the place where his game ends. Tsar pulls out a weird glowing item as he says that it is not over yet, and Han Kang-seok recognizes that item as the angel wing fragment. Tsar uses the angel wing fragment to quickly teleport toward another angel statue. Zeon is pissed to see that Tsar made it out, and Han Kang-seok makes an excuse saying that he did not think Tsar would move while being electrocuted. He further says that Tsar was as tough as he looked, and Zeon angrily strikes him by telling him to stop making excuses and he should have ended that Tsar quickly. Han Kang-seok keeps his cool by saying that Tsar was not even going to be an obstacle to his plans anyway, but Zeon says, "You are just making up excuses after losing him." With that being said, Han Kang-seok looks back toward Sungwoo. He greets Sungwoo by saying that it's been a while, and he did not expect to meet him like this. After spotting Mireo, Kang-seok congratulates Sungwoo by saying that first a world tree and now a dragon, you are really blessed when it comes to an item, while all I got is one noisy brat. Sungwoo asks him about how did he get here. Han Kang-seok replies by saying that he had no idea Sungwoo was here, he just came here because of a quest, and that's when he sensed Hell's power. Sungwoo asks him about the Demon King stuff and Kang-seok says that it's just a childish name. He tells Sungwoo that you can just think of it as a hidden awakening, and Sungwoo asks him if that is why he is after Hell Gates, so he can become the thing called Demon King after completing the quests. Han Kang-seok says that yeah, it's a really long quest and he is starting to get sick of it, he just wants to throw it away at this point. Sungwoo is thinking that Demon King must not be a bad thing since even his job Necromancer is described as an evil being. His intentions are the real important thing here, so he asks Han Kang-seok about what's so good about becoming the Demon King. The Hell Dimension monsters keep invading Earth, and would he be able to stop them if he becomes a Demon King? Zeon and Han Kang-seok ask Sungwoo that you must have met that giant one-eyed thing called the World Eater. If they relax and do nothing, this Earth will be eaten by it, and even if they get lucky and stop it, they could still end up being dominated by the angels or devils. Their ways are different, but they are all still invaders. Sungwoo says that you are right and we should grow an autonomous power that does not rely on any side. Han Kang-seok says that you are doing well in that aspect. This is a world where the last one standing wins, and what he is doing is also one of those paths. Sungwoo becomes happy as he is being complimented as an ally by Kang-seok, but all of a sudden Zeon informs Kang-seok about something in the southeast. It turns out that another Hellgate opens somewhere in the southeast, which is related to his quest. Han Kang-seok prepares his teleportation circle as he says that it would be nice if they could talk about this later when they both have time, but they will get their chance if they stay alive. Before leaving, he wishes Sungwoo best of luck, and he requests him not to die until then. While Kang-seok leaves, Manhwa Recap informs Sungwoo that she will go look for the prosecutor. A few hours have passed and the chaos has cooled down. The Liberation Guild took the remaining Russians as prisoners. Manhwa Recap informs Sungwoo that all the Siberian hunters have surrendered. Even the curse that froze the Crusader team has been lifted. Sungwoo says that it's a relief, and Manhwa Recap says that the prosecutor has something he wants to say. Prosecutor makes his way to the room, but he is not looking well, and he says that even though you just saved us, but I have to bring you bad news once again. He broke an angel statue yesterday, and Sungwoo is thinking, why would a person belonging to the angel faction break an angel statue? It turns out that Prosecutor received a curse after destroying the angel statue, and now after 11 hours, the angel will descend upon the Yeongdeungpo station. The absolute race is coming down to judge the entirety of Seoul. Sungwoo says that angels are an opponent that he would had to fight someday. Sungwoo smirks as he asks the prosecutor if the angels have bones. Sungwoo is thinking that the angels coming here means that it must be possible to go where the angel race lives and fight them off there. Hanho and Mireo are almost frozen to death, and Hanho says that they should first do something about this cold, and Jisoo Yun agrees with them, saying that the temperature is constantly dropping. Min Hyum Seong thoroughly interrogates the Russian prisoners. After interrogating the Russian captives, they found out that the thing they planted in Namsan is something called frozen seed. It's a strategic weapon which completely freezes the whole area by quickly bringing down the surrounding temperature. Sungwoo asks them if the temperature is going to return to normal once that's removed, and Manhwa Seong says that it is correct, but there is nothing they can do about it unless they have full immunity against the cold. Sungwoo says that they don't have complete immunity to the cold, but there is another way. Maybe they can endure the cold thanks to Salamander's aura. Sungwoo tells them to get the helicopter, and they will quickly get it done before the angels descend. The blizzard is becoming intense near the cold seed. After some time they make it near the tower, but they cannot approach further in the helicopter, and they inform Sungwoo that he needs to get off right here, and the wide area surveillance team on the ground will explain the situation to him. With that being said, Sungwoo jumps down along with Righty. Sungwoo uses his abyss aura to cushion his fall. Surveillance team informs Sungwoo that according to the temperature they measured, the target is expected to be embedded right under the tower. The temperature in that depth is estimated to be minus 259 degrees, close to the absolute zero. An ordinary person's lungs will freeze by just breathing in that air. Sungwoo tells them that they have done enough and they should get back. One player asks the other if he thinks that the Necromancer can pull it off, and the other player replies by saying that he better do it, or else they will have to pack their stuff and leave Seoul. Sungwoo summons the Salamander's aura along with his troll minions to block off the cold winds. He even summons the specters to inspect his path going forward. He can't even see what's in front of him because of this white-out phenomenon. If he had not borrowed the specter's vision, he would not even have been able to find his way. After some time, he finally makes it to the center of this mess. A notification pops up telling him that Frozen Seed is active. It will bring Ice Age to the Seoul area within 22 hours and 44 minutes. If they want to deactivate it, they first need to detach it from the tower. There is a huge tower right in front of him, and Ice Age will descend upon them if it is not deactivated. Even with Salamander's aura, approaching any further is too much. Sungwoo orders his troll skeletons and ghosts to pull it out. An aura is released from the frozen seed engulfing the trolls. A notification pops up informing Sungwoo that a powerful magical energy is stopping him from approaching the spiritual being. Sungwoo is thinking that the frozen seed is not an ordinary item as it froze the troll minions. Sungwoo moves forward, releasing more fire aura in order to withstand the cold. His only hope is withstanding it with the advanced fire spirit stone. The frozen seed is embedded at the bottom of the tower. Sungwoo finally reached it, but his hardships have not ended yet. A notification pops up informing him that he is being exposed to extreme cold and all of his physical stats have decreased by 70%. Sungwoo is sure that he is going to die at this rate. Just standing near the frozen seed is doing this much damage, and putting his hands on it would be a crazy thing to do. But it's also too late to back down, plus the fire spirit stone should be able to offset the cold and deal a decisive blow. Sungwoo bets everything on the fire spirit stone as he jumps toward the frozen seed. He keeps on pushing forward by unleashing the heat from the fire spirit stone to block the cold waves emitting from the frozen seed. With each step, the cold keeps on drastically increasing. It's over if he freezes here, so he smashes the frozen seed with everything he got. The blast from the fire spirit stone was enough to break apart the frozen seed. The frozen seed stopped working, and Sungwoo's resistance to cold improved by 2 points as he survived the extreme cold. He got the frozen seed as well, which was worth risking his life. Frozen seed is a special type orb. When owned for at least 100 days, the Yeti attribute is given, which increases cold resistance by 10%, and it reduces mana consumption when using Frost Realm magic by 80%. If it's installed on high ground, the user can manifest Ice Age within a certain area range. This item is truly underrated, and it will come handy one day. After dealing with the Ice Age problem, Sungwoo heads back to the prosecutor for more info on the Angel faction. Prosecutor informs him that there was something different about the stone statue that he had. It had 4 wings, and it only forced quests onto them that would profit the Angel faction. Moreover, they could not leave the faction even after breaking the statue. Prosecutor received a warning message which says that he committed a sin that cannot be cleansed. Soon the Angel Arbiter will descend. All players who have registered in the faction through that Angel Stone statue will be judged. Upon meeting the Angel Arbiter, all of their stats will decrease by 90%. On the day of descent, if they confess their sins by selecting 500 player sacrifices and offering them up, they can receive forgiveness. Prosecutor admits that Sungwoo was right from the start, and fooling around with the absolute tribes will end up in a fate far worse than the happy ending. Sungwoo tells the prosecutor that he needs to start growing an autonomous power, since it's not just the Angel faction that is targeting them, and prosecutor asks him if he is talking about the Devil faction. Sungwoo informs him that there are even more horrible things lurking in the dark, and he is thinking that the being called Creator, who watches everything from above, is the worst of all. Even if he manages to stop everything now, if he don't know what that being wants, then he will be playing things the way they want. At the same time, another exclusive quest pops up in front of Sungwoo with the title of Duty of Guarding 2. It's a guarding targets type quest. Its goal is to protect the candidates for judgment of the Angel faction. As a reward, he can choose between Rise in Divinity or Class Change Ticket. Its description states that the outer dimensional being known as the Absolute Tribe is going to descend in order to massacre the living creatures on this land. As the guardian of this land, Sungwoo has the duty to eliminate pressure from the outer dimension. If he interrupts the tribe's plan, he will be able to inflict a huge lose onto them. Sungwoo will fail if 80% or more candidates for judgment die. Upon eliminating the Angel Arbiter, additional rewards will be given. Sungwoo is thinking that it must be the second part of the same quest that popped up when the Hell's Dimension and Devil's Gateway opened up. If it's according to what the contents of the quest say, then it means even the Absolute Tribes are no different from monsters, so the term Guardian refers to those who protect this land without borrowing power from external beings. Sungwoo requests the prosecutor to gather as many people as possible with job classes that control water and fire. Sungwoo is thinking of gifting a nice waterfall to their uninvited guest. A few hours pass by as the Liberation Guild gathers everything that Sungwoo requested. Manhwa Recap informs the prosecutor that they have mobilized all water trucks and water tanks nearby. They have also filled the fire service helicopters with water. Manhwa Recap is curious, so she asks the prosecutor about the whereabouts of Sungwoo, as she don't even know why they have filled everything up with water. Prosecutor tells her that it is safer to not know the reason for now, as they belong to the Angel faction and information might leak. Prosecutor is thinking that if the Absolute Tribes are looking down on this land, then their best course of action would be to take advantage of human players. Being the weak ones, they have decided to fight against the Absolute Tribe, and if they keep being cautious, then they might have a small chance of winning. All human players look up at the dark clouds in the sky. The timer runs out and the prosecutor announces that their real fight is about to start. Huge bright rays of light pierce through the dark and dense clouds. The center of that light ray becomes even lighter as more time passes. Finally, a glimpse of the Angel Arbiter can be seen. A notification pops up informing the Angel faction members that the descent of the Angel Arbiter begins. All of their stats have decreased drastically by 90% due to the power of the Angel Arbiter. All human players are shocked to finally see the real physical form of an angel. Only the legs of the angel are human-like, other than that it looks more like a monster of a different kind. The Liberation Guild members are disheartened to know that the angel they believed in for so long is just another monster. Without wasting any time, the players start spraying water toward the angel. At the same time, the fire-type wizards start attacking the water with their fire-type spells. The water starts vaporizing due to being exposed to the intense heat of the fire magic attacks, and the angel calls out all sinner crawling the land to listen. Prosecutor has no idea about what Sungwoo is up to, but he is hoping that Sungwoo should do whatever he is thinking quickly because they don't have much time left. The Arbiter uses some sort of skill as he tells the sinners that today they stand at the end of their lives. Some of the low-level players can't handle the pressure as they die down without a fight. Gang Yunli has no idea as to what these players are dying to, so he tells everyone to fall back. But Anseok-gu orders them to keep on spurting water. Gang Yunli asks him about how long are they going to keep on doing it since everyone's just dying, but Anseok-gu informs him that this is their only option since running away against that being will not be useful at all. All of a sudden, some rocks are thrown at the angel. Using Shadow Swap skill, Sungwoo summons all of his skeletons below the angel, making a huge tower. Sungwoo, along with Jisoo-yoon and Hanho, welcome the Arbiter to their land. All three of them attack the Arbiter at the same time. Arbiter easily deflects their attack while saying, "Oh evil beings, you cannot measure up to me." While they are falling down, Sungwoo informs him that he is wrong, and they are not the ones who will be dealing with him. Sungwoo throws the frozen seed at the minion tower, saying that this guy will be your opponent. The frozen seed activates, which in turn drops the temperature significantly in the surrounding area. and a strong blizzard will strike the area. The Arbiter gets hit by a cold ice wave. The Liberation Guild members now know what Sungwoo was up to, and they keep on spraying water and vaporizing it using the fire spells. As the Arbiter is about to be engulfed by the frozen seed, he warns the evil being about how can he do this to him. In a few minutes, the angel completely gets frozen. A notification pops up informing everyone that frozen seed is active. It will bring ice age to the Seoul area. If they want to deactivate it, then they first need to detach it from the tower. Manhwa Seong asks if it is over, but prosecutor informs him that it is not over yet. He furiously orders his guild members to keep on spraying water, or the Arbiter will break free. Sungwoo is thinking that he can win. He was only trying it out, but they have definitely locked up the movement of Arbiter. Sungwoo informs the prosecutor that they will be able to defeat it right now in one go if they go all out right now, and prosecutor orders the siege weapons to get ready to attack. He also mobilizes the containers with monster corpses, as they will mobilize all firepower in one blow and finish him off. In a few minutes, the preparations are complete and Sungwoo moves above the Arbiter using the Alpha Wyvern. Sungwoo dwells maximum number of demonic bombardment in his scythe. Before shooting, he tells the monster who pretends to be an angel that this is the end. With that being said, Sungwoo releases the demonic bombardment on the Arbiter, along with all the artillery fire and the corpse explosions in one go. This completely shatters the Arbiter, and Sungwoo earns 35 million gold coins for hunting down the Arbiter. Sungwoo has gained the title of an Angel Slayer. His magic resistance increased by 5 points. His immunity to fainting and electric shock increased by 10%. With this huge kill, Sungwoo leveled up to 23, and it's the first time Sungwoo leveled up since the Pirates in the Devil Cave incident. The biggest thing that he gained is the fact that even the absolute tribes are no different from monsters. It means that it is possible to kill the World Eater as well. Sungwoo completed the exclusive quest called Duty of Guarding 2. Through the additional condition of eliminating the Angel Arbiter, Sungwoo has selected a permanent rise in divinity as a reward. His divinity level has increased from level 1 to level 2. His divine Anubis form has leveled up to 2. Now he can acquire the power of Anubis by obtaining divinity for 1 hour and 30 minutes a day. All of his stats will increase by 15 points during his divine form activation. Sungwoo has been given 30 additional minutes and his stats have increased by 5, so now he won't have to be impatient due to his divine form time running out. All of a sudden, a new glowing item appears before Sungwoo. System informs him that an extra reward has been given as the additional condition of eliminating the Angel Arbiter has been satisfied for the exclusive quest. It's a special rank faction item called the Arbiter's Emblem. The one who possesses this emblem can designate members of the same faction as a candidate for judgment. It allows location tracking and it temporarily gives a 90% stats decrease. Its description says that it's a power that can be acquired through a special accomplishment. Sungwoo will receive a prominent role of maintaining regulations and public safety. Another notification pops up informing him that he has satisfied a certain condition. Lich One, who controls Death, plus Bihyung Hand Fan, which controls ghosts, plus Arbiter's Emblem, which carries out judgment, and just another Arbiter Emblem is required to fulfill this quest. Sungwoo was not expecting something like this to happen. If it's a reward that requires satisfying such tough conditions, then it is possible that it could be a new divinity. Sungwoo is still thinking about how much power he can gain from this new divinity. If he keeps on growing the faction, he will definitely get another opportunity to obtain the Arbiter's Emblem. The Liberation Guilds is in an uproar since their connection with the Angel faction has been cut off, and they have gained back their abilities. Their uproar comes to a halt when Manhwa Seong reminds them that they should get back to work since their powers are back. Sungwoo tries to raise the Arbiter as a minion, but he fails as system notifies him that a being from an outer dimension cannot be risen as blood kin. The same thing happened when Sungwoo tried to raise the monsters from the Hell's Gate as his minions, but it seems like different rules apply to outer dimensional beings. But it's not like Sungwoo has not obtained anything from this battle. Sungwoo obtained an item called the Absolute Tribe's Bone. These bones have a lot of strength. It's harder than most metals, and it reacts to magic better than most mediums. He also obtained heroic rank Angel's Knuckle Polearm. It ignores the attack target's defense power by 10%. Its description says that it's an item made from bones of the Absolute Tribe Angel. And last but not least, he obtained a heroic rank full body armor called Angel's Rib Armor. It increases its wearer defense power by 30%, and it forms a shield with 20% of defense power. Its description says that it's a shield made from bones of the Absolute Tribe Angel. Sungwoo equips his minions with this full body armor and the pole arms, increasing their defensive capabilities by leaps and bounds. Sungwoo asks his friends if they want him to make one set of armor for both of them, but they both have better weapons and armors as of now. This battle went smoothly because Mireo was asleep this whole time. At the same time, Prosecutor comes up to Sungwoo saying that he was wrong in choosing the Angel faction. They would not have known this truth until the very end of this game. He asks Sungwoo if they will be able to end this game, and Sungwoo replies with a yes. There are no games without an ending, so the ones who created it must have made it so that it's possible to finish it. Prosecutor asks that if it is not already too late, can he reach that ending with Sungwoo? Sungwoo shakes his hand, telling him to tag along. At the same time, the Griffin Rider arrives at the battle scene. Ji-soo-yoon and Han-ho wonder as if something might have happened for her to come here in person. Lee-yeon informs Sungwoo that players from America have arrived in Korea. Sungwoo, in frustration, asks if they have attacked the town, and Lee-yeon informs him that it is not the case, and they requested a meeting with the Necromancer. Sungwoo asks if it was this much simple, then why did you came here to meet me in such urgency, and Lee-yeon informs him that the Americans were attacked. They were all killed by someone. A battle ensued after the ship they came in suddenly exploded, and their coast guard saw the murderers running away. Sungwoo has no idea about what's going on and who can have the balls to attack the emissaries from America. Without wasting any time, Sungwoo heads back to Suwon town. Sungwoo asks Spearman Kyungsoo about their contact with Americans, and Spearman Kyungsoo says that their meeting was not official yet. And now it turned into a sensitive problem for diplomacy with the recent attack. He further informs Sungwoo that they have secured the scene so Sungwoo can go and have a look. While they move, Spearman Kyungsoo informs him that there is news from China. It appears that Server 1 has conquered Server 2, and they have unified the entire country. Sungwoo is quiet pissed as the Emperor who kept him in check through assassins and monsters has finally unified the server. It adds to his tensions because once the Chinese server is stabilized, Sungwoo will become their next target. After some time they arrive at the crime scene. Han-ho is shocked to see that Americans rode this huge thing. It's used to be a huge ship with a unique design. Spearman Kyungsoo informs them that it's a ship that sails the sky, not the sea, and it's better to call it a seaplane. All this time, the Americans were hiding in the clouds, but they crashed down here once the explosion occurred. Lieutenant Park, who was inspecting the scene, informs Sungwoo that they have found an empty circular space in every engine room, and he is assuming that it must be the place where they put the item that made the ship able to fly in the sky. They are not sure about its rank, but it's definitely a valuable item, and there is a possibility of the attackers stealing it. Spearman Kyungsoo says that this must mean that there are more seaplanes like this somewhere, and Sungwoo is thinking that this is an organization that has developed differently from the Evolution Society, which focused on biology. It's more like Americans showing off that despite the fall, they are still at the top when it comes to technology. Sungwoo inspects the ship to find out that it's called Dwarf Third-Class Airship. Its rank is unknown and it's a player-manufactured item. It provides high-altitude flight and large-scale shield deployment. Its description says that it's a transport aircraft made with dwarf technology. Its length is 85 meters, and it can carry maximum load of 40 tons. It can carry 55 people at max, and its maximum speed is 35 knots, and its head of management is Jonathan Cage from Foreign Affairs Team Leader 1. The rest of the details are confidential. This item is a valuable possession of WPU, and unauthorized access can lead to unexpected death. Its current status says that it's completely destroyed and there is no power source installed. Ji-soo-yoon says that there is a lot of stuff written about it, and Han-ho says that if they lay their hands on it, they will probably be taken away by guys in black suits. Sungwoo is thinking that it's hard to say if things are stable now, and yet this organization is still particular about positions and such formalities. According to his past experiences, he doubts that they will be proper gentlemen. Lieutenant Kim informs Sungwoo that there are a total of 42 dead bodies found on the ship, seeing that there are no traces of infiltration no matter how much they look for them, and he assumes that a revolt might have started from the inside. The damage to the corpses is too severe to resurrect them as undead, and any possibility of finding out what happened through memory fragments is long gone. Spearman Kyungsoo says that they came from a really far place, and they definitely would not have enemies in the Korean server, and the attackers made it difficult to assume their identity. He suspects that this can be the result of a civil war. Spearman Kyungsoo further says that there must be some strife between the American players, and they have made it impossible to find out who killed who. All of a sudden, Ji-soo-yoon senses something and she shouts at Sungwoo to evacuate the people. Sungwoo orders everyone to quickly get off the seaplane. Ji-soo-yoon informs Sungwoo that she can feel small but frequent movements coming from a spot inside the cabin. On closer inspection, they turned out to be bugs. They are packed inside boxes like a booby trap. The rank of these boxes is unknown and they are called player killer box, and they have deadly poison bugs inside. It's a player manufactured item. If a player approaches it within a 5-meter distance, the box opens up and 3,000 deadly poison bugs are freed. Regardless of the defensive power, the player will die after getting stung 10 times. Sungwoo says that this is the worst gift he ever had, and he orders his minions to bring it up. Jisoo Yoon is quite pissed, and if she had noticed it a bit too late, then a lot of people here would have died. Sungwoo orders Spearman Kyungsoo to find a white werewolf through the Hunter Company. The White Werewolf Beast Man was one of the Evolution Society's leader. With his psychometry, which reads memories of objects, they will be able to find out some kind of information. Since it's a gift that has not been opened yet, then they need to return it as it is to its owner, in a secret facility somewhere in an unknown place. Someone just opens up his eyes as his captive calls him Johnny. It's time to get a grip, man. As Johnny wakes up confined in ropes, he asks Parker about where he is, and Parker says that he never thought Central Park's hero can look this miserable. Parker is the subordinate of Johnny and he asks Parker if he has betrayed him. Parker says that it's possible only if we have been on the same side at one point, but we have never shared our heart with you guys in the first place, and this is a spectacular operation targeting hostile forces following the espionage battle. He don't know for what reason Chairman Love wants to maintain a good relationship with a clown in a small land, but Admiral Baker has a different opinion. These days he is very interested in decorating Oriental gardens. Johnny gets the impression that Parker is trying to get the World Tree. Parker confirms this suspicion and Johnny starts to think that these guys are crazy. Chairman Love thinks very highly of South Korea's hero value. The Necromancer is a man who fought against the Absolute Tribes, unlike others who tried to follow them. Chairman Love said that the Necromancer will be a key figure in rebuilding humanity. Johnny asks Parker if Admiral William Baker is planning to make another unnecessary sacrifice, and that sacrifice is going to be Parker. Parker says that you saw it, that horrible tree's shape, it's a weapon for mass destruction. It's a monster which we don't know when and how it's going to grow and destroy Washington City. He further informs his friend that they have always stopped future disasters. This tree is a potential threat, which can cause harm to the Central Order of America. The hardliner group is being led by Admiral William Baker. They still believe that all crises should be resolved under American leadership. They see the Necromancer as a potential threat to the United States-centered order. Johnny tells Parker what he is doing is not right. Parker informs Johnny that you and the messenger will be reported as having massacred by isolationist Eastern terrorist aka the Necromancer. Then Admiral Baker will gain the support of the Provisional Assembly. Finally, they will send a dwarf fleet here, and Parker is wondering if that monster tree can withstand a bombardment of that scale. Johnny begs Parker to reconsider his choice since this is not the way to peace. All of a sudden, the specters of Sungwoo infiltrate the room, making both Parker and Johnny confused about their origin. Those specters were mere scouts, and after knowing the location of the captive, Sungwoo destroys the ceiling. A huge chunk of the ceiling is about to hit the American crowd below, but before it can hit them, Parker deploys an energy shield, and he orders his underlings to locate the target. All of a sudden, the ceiling chunk which was about to hit them gets lifted up, and the underlings think that maybe Parker did that, but Parker informs them that it was not his doing. It turns out that Sungwoo's mech skeleton boss was the one who lifted it up. Sungwoo sighs in relief since he found these faggots, and the Americans are wondering about how did he found this place. After locating Johnny, Spearman Kyungsoo informs Sungwoo that the person tied up is Jonathan Cage, who came as a diplomat. The White Werewolf Beastman informs Sungwoo that the man who deployed the shield is the mastermind behind the massacre on the ship. Parker says that you are just lying and you don't have any evidence to back your claims. At the same time, Parker starts to squeeze Jonathan's neck. Parker tells the Necromancer that this man is indeed Jonathan Cage, who came to meet you as our representative. But a rebellion broke out under his direction, and it's just a messy internal feud. He further claims that they suppressed the rebellion and traced the events, and as of now they were in the middle to questioning Jonathan. Parker warns Sungwoo to forget about today's events if they want to maintain friendly relationship with them, but before Parker can lie any further, Sungwoo grabs him by his neck. Sungwoo asks him about why is he talking too much. Sungwoo informs him that he did not came here for a diplomatic talk with him, and you probably know more about me than I do. Sungwoo heard his talk where Parker said that he will put all the blame of this incident on Sungwoo, claiming that he is an isolationist Eastern terrorist and whose hobby is to brutally massacring foreign invaders on his land. Sungwoo asks him if this is not the perfect scenario you wanted. Parker tells him that it's useless to torture him and he should just kill him right away to save time. where Wolf Beastman says that they don't need to bother with useless things like torture, and they didn't even torture anybody to find this place. At the same time, Jisoo-yun arrives in the room after subduing 2 soldiers. Jisoo-yun informs Sungwoo that all players inside the building have been subdued. Spearman Kyung-soo says that Jisoo-yun probably went overboard with the subduing task. Sungwoo informs Parker that he is not going to kill him, and from now on, the one to be used in political games won't be us. After a few hours, all prisoners are brought outside, and the Suwon Town players do a thorough checkup of the American base. Sergeant Kim informs Sungwoo that they found these awesome items. These are Aircraft Engine Core Type 3 flight stones. Their rank is unclassified, and they are all player-crafted items. When these stones are infused with mana, they can reduce the weight of certain parts by up to 98% and elevate them upon a secondary infusion. Its description says that it is an upgraded model of a standard flight stone that amplifies its weight reduction effect by 300% through the attached amplifier. This item is a valuable asset of WPU and is classified as a first-rank security item, strictly prohibiting external interference or unauthorized modifications. Sungwoo tells his men that they will keep these flight stones, and as for the severely injured diplomat, they need a priest. All of a sudden, Sungwoo remembers that Hanho was a priest, and Hanho also realized it just now. Sungwoo asks Jonathan about the real reason he came all the way here from United States. Jonathan says that the world has become an absolute mess, but US server has stabilized to some extent, but not South America, specifically the Amazon. Sungwoo is wondering that Amazon rainforest is also known as the lungs of the world, and what kind of problem can be in there. Jonathan informs Sungwoo that the Amazon is so vast and rugged that even the Brazil server could not handle it. Sungwoo is wondering that they must have neglected the monsters, and now the numbers have exploded, and a monster king must have emerged as well. Jonathan says that the monsters there are threatening North America, and our goal is to form a global alliance to respond to this. Sungwoo says that it looks like not everyone is on board of this plan. Jonathan informs them that once some stability was achieved in the United States, power struggles and schemes began. Chairman Love is different, but the lack of overwhelming force to support his strong leadership is a big issue. The news of the messenger's crash must have been fabricated and sent to Washington. Chairman Love and his allies will hold out, but this news will heavily influence Congress' decision. Hanho asks if they can't contact US community server, and Jonathan informs him that all of their phones were destroyed. If they are pulling off something like this, then they must have destroyed their own phones as well. Sungwoo asks Jonathan if he can reach US if they provide him an aircraft, and Jonathan says that a normal aircraft can't cross the Pacific. Strange magical storms and monsters would prevent it. Their airship is destroyed and they can't repair it without a WPU dwarf engineer. Spearman Kyung-soo informs him that they are already fixing the ship. In a few hours, the airship is completely fixed. Spearman Kyung-soo informs them that the takeoff was successful and all inspections are complete as well. Jonathan is amazed since this is a state-of-the-art aircraft that drained so many magical engineers' mana, and it was just repaired within one day. Jonathan asks the players who repaired the aircraft about what they were doing before this. He asks them if they were engineers or engineering students before the fall. Sergeant Kim informs him that they even tried to disassemble and reverse engineer the weapons loaded on the ship. The weapon named Supernatural Storm is a legendary rank special quest reward. When a refined core stone is equipped in a laboratory, it can fire a refined bullet once every 2 minutes. Its description says that it is a mechanical device crafted from the steel's core. It converts the energy of various cores to fire refined bullets. Equipping higher-grade refined core stones results in more powerful projectiles. They did not use this legendary item because it's not a player-made item and it can cause big trouble for them, but the guy who worked on the repairs was against stopping since they can use this firepower to protect their town. Sungwoo has a fire spirit stone which can be used to fire the cannon. The builders are anxious to use this fire spirit stone to test out the cannon. Finally, Sungwoo agrees to it and they use the fire stone to shoot a bullet. Spearman Kyung-soo says that the aircraft has a barrier, but this can even pierce it in one shot. After watching it, Jonathan shouts at the Necromancer to return the aircraft to him. He will go to US server to stop Admiral Baker from taking control of the assembly as soon as possible. Sungwoo is not sure about who he needs to return this aircraft to. Sungwoo asks him that WPU is not their enemy, and Jonathan replies with a yes. He further asks that those they fought yesterday were traitors to WPU and invaders to this land, so this aircraft is simply the loot he acquired after winning against those invaders. Quite a lot of their own parts were used for the repairs, and Spearman Kyung-soo is thinking that only 2% of their items were used in the repairs. Sungwoo tells Jonathan that trying to claim ownership with morality or law in a world like this is not civilized. It's outdated and stubborn. Jonathan says that you are right, but Chairman Love hopes for a time when that becomes possible again. Jonathan is thinking that this is a savage world and the Necromancer is now even more necessary for rebuilding civilization with his savage methods. The very next day, Sungwoo and his men are experimenting with the messenger. Hanho makes his way to Sungwoo in a hurry, but before he can deliver the message, he gets stopped by some chicken skeletons. Hanho smashes them with ease using his priest abilities. Hanho arrogantly informs Mireu that he is 1,000 times stronger than him and he needs to try harder if he wants to beat him in this lifetime. Sungwoo inquires about the report, and Hanho informs him that a fleet of airships appeared on the southern coast. Sungwoo is shocked to hear that they arrived so quickly, plus he is thinking that this timing does not make any sense, considering they came right after getting a report on the situation. Jonathan informs Sungwoo that Admiral Baker must have taken over the temporary parliament, and he now got war authority. They must have everything pre-planned since the messenger spacecraft crash. Sungwoo says that it is still not possible to arrive so early unless they used an item like the Great Hypergate that Japan had. Jonathan confirms that it must be the server jumper, which is the top secret item of WPU. It's an ultra-high performance item for movement, through which you can open a portal if you just know the coordinates. Sungwoo says that whatever they do now does not matter, because we will be treating them as enemies from now on. Jonathan begs Sungwoo to win since this war happened due to his negligence, and Admiral Baker must be at the helm of this war, who is also one of the parasites in WPU. After a few hours, the Americans start bombing the city of Changwon without any prior warnings. The players from a minor faction get wiped out in mere seconds. The Americans shamelessly broadcast the whole event live. Spearman Kyungsoo informs Sungwoo that this video was relayed 3 hours ago, and there are at least 7 airships visible in this video. The Americans bombed Changwon indiscriminately. Sungwoo says that the goal of Admiral Baker seems to be taking over the Korean server instead of just wiping out the World Tree faction since they have targeted the South. Hanho's dad becomes pissed at the Americans for not coming at them first. Lieutenant Kim says that it is unfortunate for the victims, but they have got enough time to prepare. Jonathan Cage informs Sungwoo that the fleet in the video is just an advance party. No matter how advanced the server jumper is, they won't be able to move the entire fleet. Their goal must be to incapacitate the South and install the Hypergate. Hanho's dad says that they need to show these American dogs their place this time. Jonathan Cage further informs them that the fleet of Admiral Baker is quite powerful. He still can't forget the time when they annihilated 20,000 iron orcs with it. Jisoo Yoon says that it takes time to inject mana when installing the Hypergate. If they are going to install more than one Hypergate, then they still have time left. Sungwoo asks Jisoo Yoon if she has asked the king of the Great Mountain Range for the Space Stone, and Jisoo Yoon informs him that she already received one. But in return, the Suwon town had to buy 1,000 bags of potatoes from the king. Sungwoo says that if only few of us are going, then we can immediately head to Changwon, but Hanho says that we are not few. The advanced American fleet made sure to annihilate every living being in the town. A player says that this has turned into a pile of ash just like Philadelphia, and another player is quite impressed with this destruction. The first player says that we made that broadcast in Korea to put down their spirits. Admiral Baker sees these performances as a strategy. Thanks to that, even the Philadelphia Union surrendered early. Chairman Love's side criticized them by saying it was unnecessary sacrifice, but Admiral Baker hit back saying that he was exchanging bombshells for soldiers' lives. The first player says that Admiral Baker is a man who would look at war as mere numbers piling up. The other player says that Admiral Baker has a good sense of politics. He already knew that one day Admiral Baker would defeat Chairman Love and rise to power, but he didn't expect it to be this quickly. The fact that the Necromancer is a psychopath to whom words don't work was a big factor. Even the members of the parliament could not have known that he would massacre the flight attendants and bring down the messenger aircraft. There are about 6 hours left for the Hypergate installation to finish. According to their superiors, they might attack Busan next. All of a sudden, they get distracted by a shadow from above while a box lands behind them. A caution message pops up informing them that a player-killer box is opening. Once the box opens up, countless player-killer bugs burst out of it. Just a single player-killer box was enough to wipe out an entire aircraft. Sungwoo makes his entrance along with the messenger aircraft. The Americans prepare for battle as they spot the Necromancer along with the aircraft. The 6 remaining aircrafts get in position to attack Sungwoo and his airship. Sungwoo charges directly towards the American airships along with his wyverns, and the Americans think that the Necromancer is a fool for trying to attack them with flying animals made up of bones. The engineers inform their captain that they received a high-energy response from the messenger aircraft, and the captain says that they have a protective shield around their aircraft, which can easily handle a high-energy blast from other aircrafts. The players on the messenger use the legendary weapon, Supernatural Storm. The shields on the aircrafts get easily destroyed, and the Americans are not sure as to what their enemies just fired. Black smoke appears on the deck of another American aircraft. A caution message pops up informing them that Grand Necromancy has started. A ton of zombies pop out of the smoke and they start attacking the players. Within a few minutes, all American players from that ship get wiped out. Americans are not sure as to why their airship is covered with smoke. They try contacting that ship by the name of Blue Wing again and again. The soldiers inform Admiral Baker that they are not getting any response from Blue Wing. After a few seconds, one of the players informs others that the Blue Wing started to move and he will try contacting them once again. But Admiral Baker orders his men to shoot down Blue Wing. The soldier is a bit reluctant to shoot their own aircraft, but Admiral Baker puts a gun to the player's head, threatening to kill him if he is not going to shoot right now. With that being said, all fleets aim at Blue Wing. Only a few ships fire at the Blue Wing, which is not enough to take it down. The protective shield around Blue Wing blocks off the bombardment from other ships. Seeing this, Admiral Baker shoots the soldier in cold blood. The second in command, fearing for his life, orders the other ships to shoot as well, or their families will be wiped out as traitors. With that being said, all aircrafts shoot at the Blue Wing in unison. The impact was enough to burst through the protective shield of Blue Wing, and it completely destroyed it. Admiral Baker informs his men that the undead controlled by a human player are not stupid. Moreover, a guy who is way smarter than you is controlling them. Now he will only keep the parts that are useful to him. Sungwoo cancels all of his summons on the Blue Wing as it crashed down, and he has no use for it. Sungwoo ordered the players on the messenger to wake up Mireyu, and now they have 3 Lich-level death magic users. Sungwoo got a synergy by the name of Death Harmony. It requires 3 or more users of Lich-level death magic. This synergy promotes one of the exclusive skills into its ultimate rank. The rank of Sungwoo's bone weapon skill has risen from expert to its ultimate rank. Victor says that he is sad since most of his zombie minions are just sacrificed like this, and Sungwoo says that it is biologically impossible for you to feel sad. Victor says that if they think biologically, then everything happening around them is impossible. Sungwoo ignores his blabber, and he tells everyone that they are now moving out of the clouds. 2 aircrafts are gone, and now the Americans are only left with 5. The cannons of the American aircrafts get ready to fire at the incoming enemy. The airships take longer to turn around, and Sungwoo can just outpace them using the speed of his wyverns. But before he can act on his plan, his wyverns get shot by all cannons from the 5 airships. All of a sudden, Sungwoo realizes something. Sungwoo and his party got trapped in the bombarding range before they could even realize it. With their next attack, the Americans managed to shoot down a lot of wyverns. The Americans think that they finally got rid of the Necromancer with those last shots. It turns out that Sungwoo easily brushed away the impact from the cannons using the other wyverns as a shield. Sungwoo says that it's too early to celebrate, but they are still getting excited. Sungwoo uses his bone manufacturing skill. He forms a lot of huge bone fists and launches them toward one of the airships. The shield around airship keeps on absorbing the damage from the fists. Sungwoo keeps on bombarding the ship as some cracks appear on the shield, and the other American ships try to shoot Sungwoo, but they can't do it since their own airship is in the way. The airship on the front manages to hit one of the fists above them, and the fist shatters. There were a few orc corpses inside the fist which get dropped down on the airship. As soon as the corpses land on the airship, Sungwoo uses corpse explosion to blow the players on deck. The airship is well built and it's hard to sink it with just corpse explosions. Sungwoo gets ready to test out one of his newer abilities called high pressure explosion. All of a sudden, the corpses left on the deck start swelling up. A notification appears informing Americans that high pressure explosion is applied to 11 corpses and there are 29 seconds left until they detonate. After the timer is up, the whole airship bursts out in huge flames. Victor Lich is quite happy as these corpses were collected by him, and now there are only 3 ships remaining. Meanwhile, inside the main airship of the Americans, the commanders are sad that they lost Pittsburgh airship as well. This view in front of them is shocking because not even a single ship has been destroyed until now. Admiral Baker shoots down one of them in cold blood while saying that you guys should have followed my orders from the start and got rid of the useless ships. Admiral Baker orders the remaining captains to order everyone to fall back, plus he orders them to retreat from the Hypergate project as well. Finally, Admiral Baker asks the last useless captain if he can just do this simple task, and the captain agrees to do it. Meanwhile, American soldiers are getting manhandled on another front as well. Hanho and Jisoo-yoon report back that they have successfully taken over the Hypergate. While Sungwoo was busy with the main fleet, they ambushed the Americans guarding the Hypergate, but Jisoo-yoon has her doubts as it was suspiciously easy. Sungwoo asks about the status of the Hypergate, and Hanho informs him that it's on 97% completion rate, and it can be completed after injecting a little bit more mana. Lieutenant Kim informs Sungwoo that the iron pillars are set and the items are ready. Meanwhile, Jonathan Cage is quite amazed to witness the fall of Admiral Baker's fleet. By now, the WPU must have received the news of their defeat, even if Admiral Baker didn't report it back. The lack of contact must have tipped them off to prepare for an invasion. Jisoo-yoon says that they must be quite busy, and Hanho says that as a raider this seems like the perfect time to strike. Sungwoo informs Jonathan that they will head to Washington right away, the next day at the American naval base. A loudspeaker informs everyone to dock their fleet and be prepared. An American captain says that it feels like they are training stray dogs. They made them prepare for 4 hours to only cancel it at the last moment. The captain asks David if he found out what happened. David informs the captain that rumors from the bridge says the Admiral's fleet might have sunk. But the captain is in disbelief since he knows well about Admiral Baker. Last time when they invaded Philadelphia, they only had 1 casualty, and that poor guy was shot by Admiral Baker as well. The captain thinks that Admiral Baker might have ended the war. He is sure that little rookie from the Asia could not match Admiral Baker. Admiral Baker must have found some rare treasures, and he must be keeping it all to himself without reporting back. One of the soldiers informs Captain that the gate is activating. All of a sudden, a lot of tree veins come out of the Hypergate. The tree veins wrap around one of the airships and pull it back into the gate. After a few minutes, the Americans can feel a lot of mana outburst from the gate. With that being said, Sungwoo comes out of the Hypergate along with his Wyvern army. American captain orders the fleet to get airborne immediately. These tree vines seem to be coming out from the iron pillars that Lieutenant Kim planted. The airship comes out of the Hypergate and Lieutenant Kim orders everyone to get on board and get rid of the passengers. Other airships try to get in the air, but they are too much crowded in a small space, which causes a lot of chaos. Lieutenant Kim is quite impressed with the World Tree as they just stole an entire ship from their enemies. This is a mythical item known as Veins of the World Tree. In order to use it, one end of the vein needs to be tied to something and the other to an object to pull it with tremendous force. A notification pops up informing them that the Hypergate will soon close in 7 minutes and 49 seconds. Lieutenant Kim orders all World Tree faction members to hurry up and subdue the enemies before the gate closes. Meanwhile, on the other side, Sungwoo just took care of the entire American fleet. Jonathan is with Sungwoo and he informs him that the ground forces will soon start to move. He accessed the American community server using the captured phone and found out where Chairman Love is being held. With that being said, Sungwoo starts quickly moving toward the location. Hanho is quite amazed that he finally stepped onto the American soil after the fall, and Jisoo-yoon asks about a strange building. Jonathan informs them that it is the dwarf workshop. All sorts of enchanted weapons and airships are made there. Sungwoo's eyes widen up as he hears about this race, which can make him a lot of profit in the future. But Jonathan informs them that it's just a nickname. It's just a workshop where 100 blacksmiths work together. Their synergy earned them the dwarf title. After some time, they arrive at the WPU Special Detention Center, and Jisoo-yoon points out that it does not seem to be thoroughly guarded. They see some players on the ground, and Jonathan informs them that they are his allies, and they got here first. After seeing Jonathan safe and sound, one of the players becomes overjoyed with happiness. Jonathan informs him that he was lucky and he had people helping him. That's how he made it out alive. One of the female players tells Jonathan that you have worked hard. This woman turns out to be Chairman Love, and Jonathan informs her that this problem arose from his poor handling of the situation, but since the truth came out, soon things will start to change. Chairman Love says that things are already changing. Chairman Love tells Sungwoo that she don't know how to thank him enough, and Sungwoo is thinking that maybe she is planning to brush away all of his hard work with some empty words. But Sungwoo's attitude towards her changes as she mentions that she will compensate him well with materials. She further asks Sungwoo to come with them to the capital and inform the people in there about the truth. All of a sudden, Chairman Love realizes that all commotion around them has stopped. It turns out that Asura Hanho and Jisoo-yoon already took care of the elite unit. Even Chairman Love is impressed by their prowess. Jisoo-yoon says that these elite guards are weak, they have no combat skill, and their levels are low as well. Chairman Love is thinking that it must be the backlash of Americans relying on the fleet's strength to overcome danger. Chairman Love informs them to move quickly since this is their only chance to bring down the core of the WPU in one blow. There is an important conference going on in the assembly. Chairman Love along with Sungwoo barges into the conference. Other senators mock her for bringing an undead army inside this sacred place. Chairman Love shouts out loud telling them to get a hold of themselves. The senators shut up after hearing her scream. She informs them that team leader Jonathan Cage of Messenger Corps, who was reported to have perished, is alive and the Necromancer who attacked him is also here. The senators are a bit taken back since they thought Jonathan was killed by the Necromancer. Jonathan informs them that Admiral Baker has long been plotting to seize control of the Provisional Assembly. Jonathan has reported the truth to Chairman Love, so he tells them to listen to her. With that being said, Chairman Love gives them details about how Admiral Baker planned out this whole facade. After hearing the truth, the assemblymen start cursing Admiral Baker for fooling them, but someone present on the sidelines is not happy with this explanation. Gordon gets up as he shouts out that they don't really know for sure if the person present in front of them is the real Jonathan Cage. He points toward Jonathan while saying that this person could have used doppelganger transformation magic in order to deceive us all. Sungwoo asks about the origin of these people and Jonathan informs him that they are Admiral Baker's closest friends. Gordon further informs them that Admiral Baker is alive and well. He is conserving his strength in the allied Japanese server, and he will exact revenge on the Korean server after recuperating. Chairman Love tells Gordon to give up since all he has done to this point are just meaningless sacrifices. Gordon shouts out loud saying that if they are buried under humanitarianism, they will never regain a strong America. They will only end up under the rule of that corpse manipulator. Sungwoo is quite pissed at Gordon for his unnecessary speech, but Gordon keeps on rambling about them being the greatest free nation in history, and they will be ruined if they follow this undead manipulator. Jonathan further informs them that Gordon is the right-hand man of Admiral Baker. He is ranked 7th in the American server. He is known for his tremendous strength, but as you can see, he has a nasty temper. Gordon then starts slandering Jonathan for whispering to some zombie who is eating up our freedom, and if he has no pride as an American. After hearing his ramblings, Ji Soo-yoon gets triggered and she moves forward telling Gordon that your pride does not match your skills. Gordon runs forward to teach this brat a lesson. Gordon uses dynamite punch on Ji Soo-yoon. Ji Soo-yoon easily blocks the dynamite punch of Gordon with a single finger, and she comments that the 7th rank of American server is so weak. After that, she slashes Gordon into spaghetti. She asks others if anyone else needs an attitude adjustment. Sungwoo tells them all that now it's time to discuss appropriate compensation for the crimes you guys committed on our land. Few hours pass by and the conference ends. Chairman Love informs Sungwoo that she plans to provide compensation to his satisfaction, but if he is also open to investments for cooperation. Hanho says that it feels like we are hired thugs taking money from politicians. Sungwoo is thinking that he can even growl behind them if they can pay the right price. Sungwoo says that as compensation, he wants to visit the dwarf workshop. Chairman Love agrees, and they start moving toward the dwarf workshop. Hanho says that it feels like they are looking at an ancient structure like the pyramids. Hanho asks about the lights, and Jonathan informs them that it is blessing magic. The building itself is imbued with blessing magic. It activates the necessary blessings depending on the item being crafted. Sungwoo is thinking that it's not on par with the world tree, but being able to create blessings themselves makes them ahead of us in manufacturing. Inside the workshop, the workers are still busy making products. They arrive near an otherworldly looking structure with some people on top of it. One of the bearded players shouts at the other for not focusing while tempering, and he keeps on throwing all kinds of slur to the worker. Sungwoo is thinking that this guy is definitely a dwarf, but Jonathan informs them that he is just a stubborn old man. The old man recognizes Jonathan among the new crowd. He jumps down saying that you are showing up in a swarm without prior permission. You deserve to be thrown into a furnace. Jonathan asks Master Hurst if he don't know what's going on outside, and Master Hurst bursts out in anger saying that he knows quite well. The airships they poured blood and sweat into have been smashed to bits. He tells them to get lost and not expect anything for a while. Sungwoo informs him that he is not from WPU and he is just here with a crafting request from outside. Master Hurst says that he knows well that Sungwoo is the one who destroyed all of his airships and now he came here with these WPU punks. Master Hurst further asks him if Sungwoo has money. Sungwoo says that he has money beyond Master Hurst's imagination. After hearing that, Master Hurst quickly takes them to his office. Hurst introduces himself as Arnold Hurst, master of this workshop. His class is Elder Blacksmith. He can organize the workshop, grant additional professions, and train blacksmiths. It was already getting dull with those Washington customers, and he asks Sungwoo about what he wants to be made. Sungwoo says that he needs a safe space from cold if he wants to take out his item, and Master Hurst informs him that there is no safer place for crafting than this workshop. Sungwoo asks him if it won't interfere with other work, since even slight temperature changes can alter the outcome of a product. Master Hurst says that he likes the sound of it, and he tells Sungwoo to wait here. In a few minutes, a lot of metal materials arrive there. Master Hurst starts to use the materials to make something. Master Hurst informs Sungwoo that it cost 100,000 gold to make this safety box, and this will be billed to Sungwoo as well, and Sungwoo agrees to it. Sungwoo summons one of his skeleton minions inside the safety box. The skeleton minion is carrying the frozen seed, and even Master Hurst is amazed after seeing this item. Master Hurst says that it is the most disgusting thing I have ever seen, and he asks Sungwoo about what should he make with that. Sungwoo tells him to make a small portable hand pistol like this one. Master Hurst says that it's insane. Making a personal weapon from that is like asking to make a revolver out of plutonium. Sungwoo asks him if it is impossible. Then he will just pay for the box and leave. There are skilled craftsmen in the Korean server as well, but Master Hurst tells him to wait. Nothing is impossible at Hurst Workshop. It's just that he will end up with a lot of headaches. After discussing the details, Sungwoo returns to his lodging. During nighttime, he has a one-on-one meeting with Chairman Love. She says that America is such a complicated land. It's vast with 3 servers. Its diversity in race and culture inevitably leads to many factions. But they overcome all hardships together. First, they allied with the Central and Canadian servers. After that, the Japanese server. And now they have also made contact with the Korean server. They thought they were doing well without major losses, but this incident has made her realize that they are still unprepared. But she won't give up or wait for long. It's a world where anything could happen if they are late. She hopes that Sungwoo will join them in uniting the world. Sungwoo says that it's a complicated story. But more importantly, are not the monsters growing in the Amazon the real problem? Chairman Love says that you are right, and she further asks him if he has that dragon hatchling with him, and Sungwoo replies with a yes. Chairman Love informs Sungwoo that there is an adult dragon in the Amazon. Sungwoo asks her if she is sure that they spotted a real dragon. Chairman Love says that their information is correct. The truly fortunate thing is that horrifying creature does not seem to have any intention of leaving the Amazon for now. In fact, Brazil used to be a stronghold of powerful player guilds not too long ago, especially in some southern city. A guild had as many as 10 players over level 20. Sungwoo is thinking that it is quite a feat, since in the Korean server only Sungwoo and Han Kang-seok have reached that level. Sungwoo says that it's an unbelievable number, and if her information is confirmed. Chairman Love informs him that they were in shock as well when they first encountered it, but in hindsight it was an obvious fact. Monsters endlessly poured out from the massive dungeon that is Amazon. The players in there hunted monsters daily in order to survive. Sungwoo is thinking that it makes sense. Their conditions are complete opposite of the east coast of United States, which became soft in its favorable environment. Chairman Love further informs him that even those players were wiped out just a week ago. According to the delegation sent to Rio de Janeiro, a coalition of 13 guilds, totaling 2,800 people, went on an expedition to eliminate the source of the monsters in the Amazon. Sungwoo says that they must have incurred the wrath of the dragon, but Chairman Love corrects him by saying that it was not wrath but retribution. Brazil and all of South America vanished overnight. Watching the flames in the southern sky, we could only pray that those flames would not cross over, and after witnessing that scene, they got this quest. The name of this quest is the Worst Life Form. It's a eliminate or flee type quest. Its objective and rewards are unknown. The Americans have witnessed the disaster that scorches the earth. Its name is Dragon. Having eradicated all life form in South America, it returned to its nest and entered a dormant state. However, in 48 days, it will resume activity. Its next destination is your homeland, North America. You have 2 choices: recklessly face it or wisely flee. The dragon will destroy North America and then enter a dormant state again. When it resumes activity, it will move to a new region. It, as next destination, is East Asia. Chairman Love tells Sungwoo it is the hidden quest triggered by the Brazil server. Sungwoo is thinking that this is by no means someone else's problem. If left alone, it will reach Asia through America within 100 days, and it might grow stronger in the meantime. Chairman Love asks Sungwoo if he thinks that they can gain enough strength to stop it in the remaining 41 days, and Sungwoo says that he is not sure. They can only try, and Sungwoo is thinking that if we can't stop it, we might have to abandon America and regroup in Asia. Chairman Love says that the method they considered was the unification, and if Sungwoo has another method, whatever it is, they will support him as much as possible. The next day, Sungwoo arrives at the dwarf workshop since his item is complete. Master Hurst says that it almost drove him crazy, and it feels like the blood flowing in our bodies has turned into a shake, plus they are smelling super bad because of the overwork and no rest. Master Hurst hands over the gun to Sungwoo, and he asks him if he is satisfied with his work. This weapon is called Winter Predator. Its rank is unknown, and it's a player-crafted weapon. It condenses powerful cold energy to fire bullets. In single-shot mode, it fires 50 rounds per minute. In spread mode, it discharges 50 rounds at once. Its cooldown is 1 minute. Its description states that its default mode is set to single shot. Pulling the lever down switches to spread mode, and pushing it back up switches to single shot mode. The spread range is very wide, so be sure to check the surroundings before using it. The description was written directly by the creator. Master Hurst tells Sungwoo to give this weapon a try, and he has set up some dummies for practice. Sungwoo aims at the dummies, and he only uses a single shot. After watching it in action, Master Hurst and his workers are somewhat in relief since they did an amazing job making this horrifying weapon. In just a single shot, the whole area in front of him got covered in ice, and Sungwoo says that this weapon is incredible. Master Hurst proudly says that everything made by Hurst is either incredible or unbelievably incredible. At the same time, something major happens as a World Season start notice pops up in front of everyone. World Season 1, Era of Encounter, War and Peace. To all players of the world, you have worked hard within your respective servers, and now we present you with a larger world. Are you a frog in a well? Or a butterfly yet to spread its wings? Are you friendly to outsiders? Or do you desire dominance and control? The world, not just the server, will decide your fate. From this moment onward, meet, interact, share, compete, and conquer the world. Another important notice pops up. To smooth interaction between servers, several rules have been established. Number 1. Each server can elect a server master. Every player on the server has a vote and can elect one player as the server master. Number 2. The server master holds the following authorities. Server master can form alliance relationships with other servers. More alliances result in various benefits. Server master can declare war on another server. The declaring side holds the initiative and selects the battlefield and event. Server master can concede to the opposing server, transferring all authority. The server becomes a colony, and a portion of its gold income is automatically paid to the opposing server master. Master Hurst says that this is basically telling us to kill each other, and soon Sungwoo is going to get busy. After a few minutes, a meeting takes place. Chairman Love says that it seems our interaction had a significant influence on this new mainstream development. Of course, borders are slowly opening worldwide, not just because of us. Sungwoo is thinking that now quests are going to change depending on player actions and events. This world season is clearly designed to enrich global dynamics and conflicts. Now the age of exploration has come to this game. At the same time, a notification pops up informing everyone that the Egypt server has declared war on the Sudan server. This war will be broadcasted live on official channel number 1. Hanho is quite shocked since a war started so quickly, and Jisoo-yoon asks Sungwoo if their server should also declare war on China. But before she can elaborate, a notification pops up informing them that China number 1 server has declared war on the Korean server. This war will be broadcasted live on official channel number 2. Hanho says that it came in quicker than expected, and Jisoo-yoon tells him that they just seized the initiative. Sungwoo is thinking that it's not an unexpected development, but the timing is the main issue. Hanho says that they have a dragon to worry about, and Jisoo-yoon asks Sungwoo about what they should do next, and Sungwoo says that they can't avoid it since they already declared the war. He is thinking that he will just take it as an opportunity to grow. What we gain from this war might be the key to stopping the dragon. Chairman Love says that it's suffocating enough just preparing to stop the dragon, and now a war too. All we can do is hope for the victory of the Korean server. Sungwoo asks her if American support in this war is not possible. Chairman Love says that as allies we do like to help, but our situation is not great either. We need to keep nearby servers in check, and our internal issues are not fully resolved yet. Sungwoo says that he understands it quite well, and he will contact her after the war ends. With that being said, Sungwoo opens the return portal to the World Tree. Back in Suwon Town, some airships can be seen flying in the sky. Spearman Kyungsoo informs Sungwoo that including the 7 repaired airships and the 2 they received as rewards, they have a total of 9 airships. They have a good quantity of siege weapons, combat supplies, and transport equipment. All forces of the World Tree faction have completed preparations for war, and he asks Sungwoo about what should they do next. Sungwoo orders him to send a message to the entire server. This time it won't end as a defensive war. Sungwoo is thinking that even if they fend off the invasion and counterattack, it would only delay the time for their next invasion. The Hwarang Guild and the Hunter Company were the first to respond to their message. Liberation Guild and the Capital Region forces are also preparing for war. Beyond the major factions, contacts are coming in from all over the country. There are quite a few guilds offering gold and items in addition to troop support. Hanho's father says that it looks like the declaration of war has really riled people up, and Lieutenant Kim says that our country comes together whenever something like this happens. Another congratulatory message pops up. Sungwoo has been elected as the first server master of the Korean server. Sungwoo can now determine various policies on behalf of the server. Hanho says that Sungwoo finally became the end boss of the Korean server, while Jisoo-yoon says that Sungwoo's shoulders just got heavier. Sungwoo never wanted this position, since it's a position with more responsibility than glory. Another notification pops up informing them that the enemy Chinese server has gained the initiative through their declaration of war. The opponent is currently selecting the war method battlefield events. The war will begin 24 hours after the selection is finalized, as the server master Sungwoo can choose to surrender. Caution in this case, your server becomes a colony of the opponent. Sungwoo says that even as server master, I can't make decisions since we don't know what methods they will choose. Lieutenant Kim says what is certain is that the one with initiative will choose a favorable battlefield. Hanho's father asks if it means that they might be dragged to China and it will be his first overseas trip to China. Sungwoo says that right now they need information. Spearman Kyungsoo informs the Hunter Company and the Liberation Guild about this request, and they start working on it. In a few minutes, the Hunter Company and the Liberation Guild sent over the necessary information. According to the info, 9,000 troops are gathered in Beijing. There is a possibility of further reinforcements. The surviving Japanese Kyushu United Army on the Okinawa server is operating as pirates, and they have been recruited by the Chinese server. Meanwhile, Admiral Baker's fleet was found in the Yellow Sea, and it's presumed they made contact with a Chinese container ship. Hanho's father angrily says that there are now enemies on all sides, and Spearman Kyungsoo says that the Siberian hunters might also get involved in the war. Sungwoo says that on the other hand, this is a chance to clean their house in one go. No more than cleaning, we need to drain them dry, and Sungwoo is thinking that otherwise they will just die to the dragon in the end. A notification pops up in front of everyone informing them that the opponent has selected the war method battlefield. The battlefield will be in Suwon, Seoul, and Busan. This event is division and convergence. Number 1, the battlefield is divided into 3 areas and battles will occur simultaneously in all. Number 2, a powerful buff is granted to the entire server for each battlefield won. Number 3, a portal opens for the winning side to join another battlefield. Hanho asks about what this division and convergence means. Spearman Kyungsoo says that the Chinese are assuming that they can win the 2 battlefields where Sungwoo is not present. They will gain strong buffs from the other 2 areas to take down Sungwoo at the end. Jisoo-yoon says that they have smaller numbers, and now they further need to split them into 3 battles, and Hanho says that this is extremely unfavorable. A notification pops up informing them that battlefield placement cross-selection will begin in 12 hours. The deployed forces roster will be revealed to the enemy. Sungwoo is thinking that the worst of the worst just happened. Lieutenant Kim says that now the enemy will easily know where Sungwoo is going. He can't find a solution on his own. They will have to put their heads together with Hwarang Guild, Hunter Company, and the Liberation Guild. Sungwoo takes a little break in the mountains to think alone for a while. He barely made it this far, but it's so frustrating. Time is far too short and the situation feels overwhelming. Some scouts come to Sungwoo to inform him that someone is here to see him. He already told them that he wanted some time to think alone, but he still asks about the identity of the person who came to meet him. The scout presents a potato, stating that the one looking for him said that Sungwoo will recognize him after seeing this. After that, the scouts begin to go back as the visitor got the permission to meet Sungwoo. Sungwoo asks the king about what he is doing here. King says that the homeowner is here to protect his house. King says that he might be a little bit late, but Sungwoo must remain careful of those prying eyes. Sungwoo takes this cue to check if the creator is watching him right now, and he is off air for now, so he informs King that no one is watching right now. King tells Sungwoo to keep a close watch on this off-air status for now since he is going to tell him a strange and mysterious story. It would be troublesome if it gets leaked out. King shows off saying that he has a little bit of a sixth sense, and Sungwoo mocks him by saying that having sixth sense is truly a strange and mysterious thing. King informs him that last night he could not even sleep due to the voice of the god, and Sungwoo asks King about what the god said. King informs him that God said Sungwoo might win this war if he is lucky, but it also said that Sungwoo will definitely die to a dragon. Sungwoo asks him if it's a fixed prophecy or if there is a solution to change it. King says that he got an answer too. Sungwoo needs to offer small statues of General Shin and Admiral Baker's flagship to the World Tree. After that, King forgot what will happen, or he pretends if he forgot. Sungwoo gives off a killing intent and King tells him to calm down since he really don't know what will happen after that because gods just say what they want and stop there. But what's more important here is that Sungwoo needs luck to win this war before facing the dragon, so his kin in the Great Mountain Range will help Sungwoo and he will be Sungwoo's great fortune. At the same time, somewhere in China, Admiral Baker, Mr. Boris, also known as Tsar, and Elder Miyamoto are waiting for someone. The butler informs them that General Shin is coming out. General Shin greets everyone and he introduces himself as General Shin Liang of the Great Empire. First he mocks Tsar by saying that I heard you had a hard time hunting lately, but you seem healthy. He then says, Admiral Baker from America, your troops were cut in half, yet it's an honor to meet you. He then informs Elder Miyamoto of Kyushu that we will help you in rebuilding your organization. Everyone in this room shares one common desire. Everyone here wants to kill the Necromancer of the Korean server. Tsar says that he didn't lose to that guy. Just as he was about to rip him to shreds, some lunatic barged in and made everything complicated. Miyamoto agrees with him, saying that it's unfortunate that the Sword Saint lost, and that man who defeated the Tsar wiped out most of the remaining Japanese forces, which was a heavy blow to him. Thanks to him, Miyamoto also had to deal with the rampage of an unchained hunting dog. Admiral Baker says that he will make sure that his fleet obliterates the Necromancer beyond recognition, and he will reclaim those warships that the Necromancer stole from him. General Shin says that you all have a commendable approach. Using the declaration of war rules of this world season, all of them can achieve their goals. Tsar asks General Shin if that annoying lightning-wielding guy is not joining the war, and General Shin says that's what we need to ensure. The top-ranked man on the Korean server does not seem interested in events from the start. His past actions support that too, and his goal lies elsewhere. That guy is after the power of hell. Tsar says that you are correct, as that guy rambled about the hell dimension when he attacked him. Last time Tsar was caught off guard, but next time he will surely kill him. General Shin informs them that their intelligence unit, which is compromised of rankers, tried to track him, but they could not find anything except that he wields lightning. In the end, their tracking team ended up being annihilated within 4 hours of tailing. In every combat scene they saw online, that guy won decisively, and there was no way to analyze him in detail. That's why the Empire considers him a top-risk target, and nothing is as dangerous as the unknown. However, there is one thing. Thanks to Tsar, they now know that he is pursuing the Hell Dimension. 3 hours ago, a 3-ranked gate of Hell was opened in Tunguska, Siberia. Tsar asks if that guy went to Siberia. General Shin says of course he would. A scroll for a 3-ranked gate of Hell is not something you can get so easily. Even if he knows it is bait, he will swallow it whole, since no one obsessed with Hell's power can ignore this. Tsar bursts up with confidence as he requests General Shin to match the Necromancer with the same battlefield as him. General Shin is thinking that according to the intel team, Tsar Boris is unmatched in one-on-one duels. General Shin asks Tsar about what kind of support would he need to win decisively. Tsar asks him to get him as many high-healing priests as he can. General Shin says that your method is simple, but it will be effective. General Shin is thinking that, according to the intel team, if that lightning guy had not appeared during the fight, then the outcome of that battle would have been different. Now with the priest's blessings, there won't be a more certain strategy than this. General Shin allows the Tsar to face the Necromancer while the rest of them will handle other battlefields. Miyamoto asks General Shin if his emperor is not joining the battle. General Shin says that our army is strong. This war will be easier than you think, and there is no need for the emperor to step in personally. After a few hours at the World Tree faction, all big factions of the Korean server are present at Suwon town. Hanho and his dad are amazed after seeing such a huge number of players who will fight alongside them. Spearman Kyungsoo informs Sungwoo that Gwangbuk Guild has 1441 members. Yui Jongbu and Paju Hunter Alliance have a total of 964 members. 1667 players joined them from Busan and other regions. There are a total of 321 survivors from the pirate island who came to return the favor. Sungwoo was not expecting the survivors he saved from the pirate island raid to come to his aid at the perfect time. Without wasting any time, Sungwoo and all high-ranking officials moved to the meeting room. Sungwoo informs them that there are about 12 hours left, so they will start discussing the critical issues. He first asks them about how they should allocate their forces. Gang Yun-Lee says that Suwon's barriers and walls are complete, so maybe it can hold with minimal forces, but An Gu refutes it by saying that it's the most crucial stronghold, and what if the enemy targets it with a concentrated attack? Some players say that they should split the airships as well, but the others think that it's a bad idea, and concentrating them in one place would be better. At the same time, Sungwoo is thinking that there is no right answer in this situation. A notification pops up informing them that the battle deployment cross-selection will begin shortly. Prosecutor tells Sungwoo to buckle up and make the final decision. A notification pops up asking Sungwoo to choose the first battlefield and forces from the Korean server. All of this thinking and confusion is making him nervous. There is no more time to think. Even without confidence, they must play the first card. At the same time, at the headquarters of the Korean Broadcasting Channel, the broadcaster got ready for their live commentary. Reporter Ahun informs the viewers that the moment of cross-selection is here. There are a total of 35444 people watching her Korea versus China server clash. She informs her viewers that this war is taking place across 3 locations: Seoul, Suwon, and Busan. In cross-selection, the server master can reveal how many forces he is deploying and where they are being deployed. Her fellow host says that their server will be in a disadvantage since they need to reveal first. Reporter Ahun says that it is the worst situation and the system is too biased, so now she will start her biased broadcast as well. Her fellow host says that as part of the media, we should maintain impartiality, but reporter Ahun gets angry as she yells at him, saying that if we lose this war, we will become a colony and starve to death. What she is doing now is for the freedom of the press. At the same time, Sungwoo selects Seoul as the first battlefield, but the Korean forces in there seem to be few. Ji Soo-yoon is placed there along with King of the Great Mountain Range and other 100 elite players. In response, the Chinese server deployed 4,000, including the Japanese Kyushu pirate group. Reporter Ahun slams the table as she wonders about how many times are these damned guys going to invade us. At the same time, her fellow reporter informs her that there are a lot of Korean forces deployed in Suwon. There are 9 allied units, various siege weapons, and countless troops, and it basically looks like a all-in strategy. But Sungwoo's name is missing from this list. Maybe it means that the Necromancer is defending Busan alone. A notification pops up informing them that their 3rd deployment roster will be sent to the opposing faction. Prosecutor asks Sungwoo if he will be okay on his own. He further asks him if he needs someone to assist him, but Sungwoo informs him that he has a plan, and in order to execute this plan, he needs to be alone. Spearman Kyungsoo says that the Chinese side has started their deployment. After a few seconds, some portals appear in Korea. Chinese players start getting teleported to Korea. In a few seconds, the Chinese army got deployed in their positions. Spearman Kyungsoo informs them that the Chinese sent so many players to Suwon as well, and China has a lot of player population, so it makes sense to send a lot of players to each area. Even Admiral Baker's fleet is there, and they are determined to break through the barrier and walls. Lieutenant Kim asks Sungwoo if they should go on full offense or defense, and Sungwoo tells him to minimize casualties and buy as much time as possible. With that being said, a portal to Busan opens up. Prosecutor asks Sungwoo if he has any final words before heading to Busan. Sungwoo tells them that they will win this war, and after that they will fight together at the enemy base in China. After moving to Busan, Sungwoo waited for the Chinese roster which will fight him in Busan. The enemy's roster gets transmitted to Sungwoo, and he says that the Chinese have carefully picked their lineup. There are snipers, assassins, frost mages, priests, paladins, and all those classes which counter a necromancer and his death legion. Plus they sent Boris, the Russian Tsar. The Chinese must have seen his previous battle with the Tsar, and that's why they chose him to fight against Sungwoo. A notification pops up informing everyone that the war begins in 12 hours. Player killing is disabled during this time. Attacking the enemy will result in automatic death. Sungwoo summons Victor Lich. Victor is quite happy that his master summoned him, but Sungwoo unsummons him for some reason. After that, Sungwoo keeps on summoning and unsummoning Victor. After 12 hours, the war officially begins. Tsar shouts out at the Necromancer, telling him that you are finished, but one of the players behind him is worried about a warning they received 30 minutes ago about Twilight Overflow. Before Tsar can do anything else, he sees a huge scorching sun coming toward him. This in turn results in a big blast which seems like a mini version of a nuclear blast. Even Victor Lich is amazed by this awesome destructive power. It turns out that Sungwoo got Death Harmony synergy by having 3 Lich-type users in one party. This time his corpse explosion skill got temporarily upgraded to ultimate level instead of his bone weapon crafting skill. The corpse explosion is an active skill and it is right now on ultimate rank, and it requires only 1 mana to activate. It causes an explosion using a corpse as a catalyst. It causes 200% additional damage and a large release of Breath of the Abyss after the explosion. There is a sub-skill called High Pressure Explosion. The corpse expands for 20 seconds before causing a powerful explosion. It has an additional damage of 600% and an extra release of Breath of the Abyss by 200%. However, if the dead body is attacked during the expansion, the explosion fails and the corpse becomes unusable. The second sub-skill, Twilight Overflow. It grants the power of death to all corpses within a 10-kilometer radius, triggering a 30-minute refinement process followed by a massive explosion. It has an additional damage of 1200% and extra release of Breath of the Abyss by 500%. After the explosion, a Twilight Fallout occurs, resurrecting all corpses in the area as zombies. Sungwoo is thinking that it's a skill with many difficult conditions for preparation, but since the start time of the war was fixed, it was easy for him to get all the corpses he wanted. The most disappointing part is the warning message that pops up when the skill is cast, but with a weird name like Twilight Overflow, they probably could not respond properly. Now the whole ground is filled with Breath of the Abyss. From the sky, his minions are still throwing corpses that Sungwoo embedded with high-pressure corpse explosions. But there is still a chance of that Tsar surviving this, so Sungwoo summons a toxic cloud to poison the survivors. On the other side, something flashed and the transmission of Busan got cut out. The live feed from Suwon and Seoul is still clear. Reporter An orders her fellow on-ground reporters to deploy more drones around the Busan area. After a few minutes, the new drones arrive at Busan and the stream resumes. The whole area of Busan is submerged in what looks like a sea of Breath of the Abyss. This is what true annihilation looks like, and the ground is now filled with the living dead and skeleton soldiers. At first, reporter An thought that the Korean forces in Suwon would win and then reinforce the other fronts. But no, it was the Necromancer who won the first battlefield. Reporter An is quite happy as she is thinking that they have won this war for certain and now she will not lose her job. After a few minutes in Seoul, Little Tiger informs King of the Great Mountain Range that the enemies are swarming from the north. King says how dare these foolish humans try to move like that, but instead of fighting he orders everyone to retreat to the designated location. With that being said, the elites of the Korean side managed to get away before the enemy could sandwich them from all sides. When the Chinese assassins arrive at the location, they don't find the Koreans and they are not sure as to how these Koreans can keep predicting their movement. The elites from the king's side are scattered across the entire Seoul metro area. They are using their exceptional senses and ability to gauge the state of the pack. They somehow maneuvered to avoid clashing with 4,000 enemies and prevent their outright defeat. But the encirclement is tightening, and their 12th one has fallen. King says that he knows well that many of their comrades are dying, and Jisoo-yun suggests that they should engage with the enemy to thin out their numbers. King says that this operation is not about confronting the enemy head-on, and 4,000 is not a number that they can take out so easily. Even a slight delay in their movement will get them surrendered. Young One informs them that the enemy is approaching, and Jisoo-yun says that she can sense a lot of enemies in front of them as well. King says that they don't have a choice in this situation, and they need to make a breakthrough. The ninjas throw bombs as they shout out that this is revenge for the Sword Saint. King blocks the bombs using tree roots. After that, they start cutting up the Japanese ninjas. King says that these bastards are persistent, and if she knows them, Jisoo-yun informs the king that their leader lost his head to her. Young Tiger informs King that their people are still dying and less than half of them are alive. Jisoo-yun senses that the enemies are closing in from all sides and she can't imagine an ending other than death. King tells them that they need to endure it for as long as they can. Jisoo-yun says that since they need to die as late as possible, then they can just find a place where they can hold out the longest. Jisoo-yun further says that they need a place which is sealed off. There they will be trapped, but they can buy some time. Jisoo-yun asks King if he can make it with his roots. King says that he can do it if they can find a sturdy building to use as a base, but still they will not last long. Jisoo-yun says that this is the best way to hold out the longest. If it does not work, then they can just resist as much as they can until they die. King sighs as he agrees to her proposition. King says since it might be our tomb, let's make it as grand as possible and who knows, death might not be the end. Meanwhile, at the Suwon town, the World Tree Barrier is getting attacked by Admiral Baker's fleet. The enemies are bombarding them with bombs while they have no idea about what their airships are up to. The cannons of Admiral Baker's fleet have a longer range. Their accuracy and firepower are superior as well. Maybe they modified their cannons after their first encounter with the Necromancer. Hanho says that it's just a trick, and there is no way the Chinese tech is better than the American ones. The prosecutor tells them to focus on defending for now. Hanho says that just taking hits without striking back feels terrible, but at the same time, cracks start appearing in the barrier. A breach appears in the barrier, and the prosecutor orders everyone to defend the broken section. With the barrier being destroyed, Admiral Baker's fleet advances towards Suwon Town. Admiral Baker orders everyone to advance and burn down the accursed World Tree Town. The drones are showing the live footage of the skirmishes taking place in Seoul. Reporter An says that this situation seems hopeless. Unless there is a miracle, Seoul is done for. The situation in Suwon Town is not looking well either. Most of the walls of Suwon Town have collapsed under the bombardment of Admiral Baker's fleet. They still can't get any signal from the newly deployed drones in Busan. Sungwoo is almost done with the Busan invasion. Only Tsar is left, and he is still cursing Sungwoo. Sungwoo tells him that he made a huge mistake by coming back here since this land is harsher than Siberia. At the same time, someone else is watching the live broadcast as well. This person turns out to be General Shin. He is thinking that the individual strength of Tsar Boris is among the best, and he might hold an advantage against the Necromancer, but relying on that alone won't suffice since there is always a possibility of failure. That's why he sent the Radiant Gold Knights along with the priests that Tsar requested. All they need to do is to buy time until Suwon and Seoul are destroyed. It's a war they can't lose with their overwhelming quality and numbers. At the same time, one of his subordinates informs him that Busan has been completely blown up. The scale of the explosion was immense, and he is sure that their forces were annihilated. After hearing the report, General Shin grins his teeth as he is thinking that this game is far more challenging than he thought. But games are more enjoyable when victory comes after a difficult trial, and from now on it's a race against time. General Shin informs his men that they have to end this before the Necromancer arrives. He mobilizes all of his troops, informing them that their goal is to uproot the World Tree. Even if the Necromancer wins this battle, they will ensure that there is no next time for him. A notification pops up informing Sungwoo about his victory in the Busan battlefield, and he can join another battlefield after 5 minutes. Sungwoo initially thought that he could just head toward another battlefield right away. But this is an unexpected situation. In a fierce battle like this, 5 minutes could mean someone's death, or perhaps in the worst-case scenario, everyone he loves might die. Meanwhile, in the Seoul battlefield inside a skyscraper wrapped in wines, Ji-soo-yoon says that their enemies finally stopped after 10 minutes of bombardment. King says that they must have realized that reckless attacks would only waste time. Unlike them, the Chinese are on a timer. Ji-soo-yoon says that there must be a reason for this silence from their side, and King says that they must be trying a different tactic. Ji-soo-yoon can hear footsteps outside the building. They are much lighter than an ordinary person's steps. Ji-soo-yoon informs everyone that ninjas are coming. King apologizes to her, saying that he is too preoccupied with holding this building together and he can't move from his spot. Ji-soo-yoon tells him to not worry since he don't need to get up from there anytime soon. Some ninjas broke through the roots and got into the building. King, after sensing this, orders his elites to fight as if they are destined to die here. Ji-soo-yoon along with the elites block the pathway of the ninjas. The ninjas, instead of charging at them, throw bombs from a distance. The bombs explode with a huge bang. But on the surface, Ji-soo-yoon seems unscathed from the impact of the bombs. She then chops off the heads of the ninjas in a single swift swirl attack. Her sword wolf burst absorbed the blood of 5 enemies. It temporarily increased her strength and agility by 5 points. Her hunting instinct is activated. After 120 seconds of continuous combat, Hunt Initiated unlocks. It turns out that Ji-soo-yoon is quite exhausted, and the last blast left some impact on her body. More ninjas flood into the building. Ji-soo-yoon slashes 2 more ninjas. Her sword absorbed the blood of 2 more players, giving her a boost of a total of 7 strength and agility. The ninjas get the gist that she is just stalling for time, and they slip through to get rid of the one who is making the roots. But as soon as they cross the hallway, they get their faces pummeled in by the elite lions. The elite tigers are pissed at them for killing their kin. Meanwhile, the sword of Ji-soo-yoon has absorbed enough blood, and it gained the battlefield song effect for 5 minutes. It gave immunity to all status effects and no perception of pain. Ji-soo-yoon cannot feel the pain anymore, but her wounds are not healed yet. A notification pops up informing her that she is invited to an unknown place. In order to accept, she needs to fulfill the conditions and open the Gate of Worthy. Ji-soo-yoon has no idea about this Gate of Worthy or the unknown location. Before she can think furthermore, ninjas flood into the building. She kills them off using sword dash skill. One of the ninja captain orders his men to deploy unit number 4 since there are only 3 enemies blocking their path. Jisoo Yoon is thinking that in a narrow corridor, she can block the enemy indefinitely. Rushing in like this only limits their own movement. She comes to a stop after noticing that a ninja is about to use a mysterious cannon and other ninjas are covering him. Once the cannon is fired, Jisoo Yoon along with the ninjas she was fighting against get blasted. Jisoo Yoon is in awe as these maniacs use their own allies as bait for this setup. She needs to stop the enemy at all cost, but as her eyes were about to close, she gets the notification informing her that she is approaching the gate of the worthy. Meanwhile, on the other side, there are only 4 seconds left until Sungwoo can join another battlefield, and he is getting anxious with every passing second. A system window pops up asking him about whether he wants to go to Seoul or Suwon. Sungwoo is furious since he just wasted 5 minutes, which could have been crucial for this war, and if anything happens to his friends, he will not let these invaders go with a simple death. At the same time, the Koreans are defending an entrance to Suwon town. Death Knight asks Hanho if he is sure that daggers are enough, and Hanho says that he is not just an ordinary thief. Death Knight buffs his knives. A notification pops up informing Hanho that paralysis poison is applied to his weapons. Attacking an enemy induces a paralysis effect. With that being said, Hanho pushes into the front line of the enemy defenses. Asura Hanho says that he is the gatekeeper of this place, and Death Knight asks him about the mysterious dot on his forehead. Death Knight says that he has seen something familiar in a movie, and it means a sniper is pointing a sniper rifle at him. It turns out that the dot is coming from a battleship. The enemies are going for a long-range bombardment. The battleships tear apart the battlefield with their bombardment. They don't even care about their own men being caught up in these blasts. Hanho survived the first wave of bombardment. His mom and dad tell him to get back inside the fortress, but Hango says that he can't do it. The enemies seem to be targeting the comrades of Sungwoo, and if he goes inside the fortress, then everyone will be in danger. No matter what happens, he will protect everyone by holding the line here. A new wave of enemy soldiers approach them as they get ready for the second wave of bombardment. General Shin is personally leading this army, and he says that it is impressive that there is still a human holding out against the bombardment. One of his advisor asks him to wait for Admiral Baker's bombardment before advancing, and General Shin says that there will be no more bombardment. Naval guns can't fire indefinitely. If Admiral Baker had the capacity, he would have fired immediately instead of just aiming. General Shin orders his men to open 2 spirit chambers as his men bring out 2 boxes. The advisor says that they have 4 advanced spirit chambers, and General Shin is using 2 in here. General Shin informs him that they don't have the luxury of time. As soon as the spirit chambers are opened, 2 spirits burst out of the chambers. An Seok-gu knows well that these are advanced water spirits. These are the advanced spirit captured after defeating Li Wei, who was the spirit summoner from Chinese server number 2. General Shin commands the spirits to sweep away the enemy. Spearman Kyungsoo orders everyone to fall back from the walls, but Hanho's father is reluctant to move back since his son is in the front lines. The fortress gets swept in a huge water wave. General Shin orders his men to take the fortress since the gates have opened, but it turns out that Hanho and the Death Knight were unaffected by the water wave. General Shin is shocked to see that they withstood those huge water waves. At the same time, a notification pops up informing them that the victor of Busan battlefield is joining the battlefield. A battle victory buff is granted to the Korean server, which temporarily increased all stats of the Korean players by 10 points. Death Knight says that they are finally saved, and Hanho admits that the water wave was quite strong, and he literally survived with 1 health point. General Shin tells his men to calm down. Even if the Necromancer appears, their forces are overwhelming. His men just need to break through the gates while avoiding the minefield. General Shin is thinking that the Necromancer must have spent a lot of mana and resources in order to clean the Busan battlefield. He is going to use his overwhelming forces to delay him and extract the World Tree, and if Seoul's reinforcements arrive in the meantime, then victory is theirs. A portal pops up above in the sky near the battleships of Admiral Baker. General Shin orders his men to maintain the defensive formation below and get ready to fire since they have already prepared anti-air attacks. Something resembling a rock starts to come out of the portal first, but it turns out that it's not just a rock but a whole building which is about to hit them from above. The building crashes down as it ends up in a huge blast. Meanwhile, on the other side, Jisoo Yoon opens up her eye after getting hit by the cannot fire. King is present and he tells her that the Necromancer has arrived in Suwon. She can rest easy as their operation succeeded. The younger lion just died in the hands of his brother. The senior lion says that he thinks that it is the end for him as well. He asks for forgiveness from the king as he could not serve him till the end. With a heavy heart, King tells him that it's all right, you did well. To die after a life of only eating potatoes, he hopes that they find a different fate next time. King says that he is not sure if he can keep his composure anymore, and he feels like he is about to do something inhumane. Jisoo-yoon says that the enemies will destroy the building since the roots are taken out, and she don't plan on dying sitting down either. The enemies are firing immediately since the roots protecting the building are gone, and King says that this building won't last long and they need to get out right now. Both Jisoo-yoon and the king jump out of the building. As soon as they jump out, they are greeted by some arrows rigged with explosives. Both Jisoo-yoon and the king get affected by these blasts. The ninja with the cannon says that they got hit, the enemies are at their limit, and this is the perfect time to finish them off. Jisoo-yoon can barely get up, and she is determined to kill as many as she can before she bites the dust. With that being said, she goes into a frenzy killing enemies left and right, while earning 13,000 to 14,000 gold coins for each kill. Jisoo-yoon, who is on her last strand, is thinking that she reduced the forces going to Suwon by as much as she could. All of a sudden, she gets slashed on her back. That slash is followed by multiple stabs. Jisoo-yoon falls down and the ninjas compliment her by saying that you were a truly incredible warrior. Jisoo-yoon's consciousness starts to fade as she lost a lot of blood. All of a sudden, a notification pops up informing her that she has entered an unknown location. There are a lot of warriors around her who are eating and celebrating. She has no idea where she is now or why these people are having a party. An intimidating old man sitting there tells everyone to keep silence as he informs them that a new fate has arrived here. One who met a tragic end after a fierce battle, one who claimed countless lives right before their death, and the one who never gave up the fight. Jisoo-yoon is thinking if it's a dying delusion or a chance brought by the system. The old man tells her that she is worthy. This one is a vessel suited to claim more lives on the surface. He asks others if anyone has any objections, and if there are no objections, then this role will be assigned to her. Jisoo-yoon becomes excited after hearing that since there are so many lives she has not claimed yet. Meanwhile in Suwon, Admiral Baker's fleet just witnessed something jaw-dropping. One of the lookouts on Admiral Baker's fleet says that there are many Chinese players who avoided the clash, but another player notices something bizarre in the fallen building. The building starts to explode from inside. In a few seconds, the whole building blasts off, killing a lot of Chinese players caught up in its debris. Admiral Baker says that the Necromancer must have stuffed up a lot of corpses into the building. At the same time, his men inform him that the enemies have infiltrated their ship. Admiral Baker orders his men to get rid of them, but the undead seem to be unstoppable. His men inform him that their forces are being pushed back, and enemy infiltration is confirmed near the bridge. It turns out that they are coming straight for them. Admiral Baker orders his men to fight and stop the enemies with their lives, but his men are no match for the legions of the undead. Admiral Baker finally steps up as he kills off some undead minions along with his own men. Admiral Baker warns the disgusting creatures and his own foolish men that even if America fell, they won't take his bridge. Admiral Baker's fire volley was quite effective at eliminating the undead, but Righty survived his volley by using an undead zombie as a shield. Righty keeps on heading toward Admiral Baker by deflecting his bullets. Admiral Baker is still sure that no blade can stand against a gun, but the main problem is that the undead just keep coming and he is running out of ammo. At the same time, Righty makes up to Admiral Baker as he sheathes his sword. Righty pulls out a gun from his pocket. Without showing any mercy, he pops out Admiral Baker by blowing a huge hole in his head.